Suguto extended his hand and officially chose Lori as his companion for upcoming trials. With shared determination, the two of them agreed to become stronger and face challenges ahead. Lori accepted his gesture without hesitation, her eyes calm, trusting him with their new path. They sealed their resolve with a firm handshake, unified in purpose, ready for the journey. Days earlier, Suguto faced a violent man on a bus, triggering the events that followed. Suguto recalled advice about failure and growth as he faced the confrontation on the bus. He laughed off the threat, realizing how differently he might have reacted years ago. Suguto calculated outcomes, avoiding conflict to protect himself from violence and a system that wouldn't understand. Humiliated, he felt the stares from strangers, uncertain if they pitied or judged his inaction. Suddenly, something shifted. Light exploded in his vision as the bus lurched forward unnaturally fast. The violent crash shattered glass and metal, throwing chaos and silence into the wrecked bus. Suguto slowly opened his eyes, disoriented, unsure how he survived while others remained unharmed. Realizing he alone was injured, anger rose. He had stood up just to avoid conflict. Lying bloodied beneath wreckage, Suguto stared blankly, unable to move, pain spreading through his chest. Crimson pooled beneath him, his thoughts scattered, confused, cold, and unable to grasp what happened. Suguto lay bleeding on the floor, slowly realizing he might actually be dying from this. While he struggled, the same man lounged nearby, laughing and scrolling on his phone. Suguto's hazy vision confirmed it. The man was filming him dying with a mocking grin. Pain turned to rage as Suguto clenched the floor, swearing in fury through his blood. His regret, hatred, and violent despair exploded, cursing why he ever stayed silent to avoid trouble. With blood in his mouth, Suguto cursed the man through a furious, soul-burning glare. Even as his life faded, he swore revenge, defying death with eyes still wide. Suddenly, he awoke inside a vast cavern, surrounded by silence, lying cold and alone. Confused, he looked around, unsure if this was an afterlife, a dream, or something else. Sitting up, he realized he could move and speak. He was alive, somehow reborn elsewhere. Suguto noticed his blood-stained uniform had become white, clean, and completely free of damage. He checked his neck. His fatal wound had vanished, and his memories remained fully intact. Though confused, his senses confirmed reality: breath, cold, and solid ground beneath his feet. Staring into the rocky tunnel, he wondered aloud if survival meant a second chance. He touched the wall cautiously, noting it felt like an ordinary cave, rough, cold, real. A tall, muscular man appeared from the cave depths, carrying a pickaxe over his shoulder. Suguto decided to approach him, grateful to find someone in this strange, unfamiliar place. The man paused, giving Suguto a sharp, wordless glance filled with silent tension and suspicion. Suguto noticed his eyes blue, foreign, raising the question of where exactly he had awakened. Faced with unfamiliar faces and language, Suguto wondered if he'd left Japan entirely behind. Suguto faced the miner, who reacted coldly, referring to him as an unfamiliar outsider. The miner asserted dominance, ordering Suguto to either move or stay still while he worked. A tense silence followed as both stood still, assessing each other with unspoken suspicion. The man returned to mining, rhythmically striking the stone, while Suguto stood uncertain and still, observing quietly. Suguto grew uneasy, sensing deeper meaning behind the man's cold behavior and surroundings. Suguto watched the miner work, realizing the man spoke a foreign language he inexplicably understood. Nearby, a wooden bucket overflowed with stone fragments, signaling the end of the miner's task. Suguto spotted an opening and decided to leave the cave to assess his situation. While exploring, he discovered glittering blue gemstones and wondered if they might be valuable. He picked a clear crystal, then froze as a group of armed strangers entered the cave. Suguto noticed the workers all carrying filled buckets toward a tunnel splitting into separate paths. He followed the group from a distance, quietly observing their behavior and where they headed. A blinding light appeared at the tunnel's end, forcing Suguto to shield his eyes. He stepped out of the cave into daylight, surprising nearby miners stationed at the entrance. Ahead lay a vast, foreign settlement bustling with activity, definitely not anywhere in modern Japan. Surrounded by workers in rugged clothing, Suguto noticed their features and fashion felt entirely medieval. Among a different group, he spotted armored individuals equipped with weapons, unlike ordinary villagers. They appeared more like adventurers from fantasy games, suggesting roles beyond simple town guards. As he processed this, a horned girl with a shovel silently approached from behind. They stood still and wordless, facing opposite directions, two strangers, now bound by quiet tension. Their eyes met. Suguro stared curiously, while the horned girl responded with quiet but piercing intent. She turned away slowly, hair drifting in the wind, neither speaking as tension thickened around them. Suguro observed the orderly workers and strange landscape, baffled by how foreign everything felt. He hesitated to follow the line of workers, choosing instead to explore further on foot. Looking up, he was stunned by towering mountains, stretching into the sky like ancient myths. Overwhelmed by the vast landscape, Suguro realized everything he knew no longer applied here. Staring at the towering spire, Suguro finally accepted he had left Earth behind completely. Forced laborers struck the rock endlessly, their chains rattling near the dark, echoing mine tunnel. Among them, Suguro gritted his teeth, overwhelmed by confusion, pain, and a growing desperation. A strange girl with horns watched him silently, her presence unsettling yet oddly familiar to him. They stood apart, separated by silence and labor, both trapped in this mysterious underground slave pit. Only later did Suguro realize this world wasn't Earth, and freedom would demand something terrifying. A gentle voice reached Suguro, snapping him from thought, as someone called him brother. A blond boy greeted him casually near a food stall, surprised by Suguro's blank expression. The boy mentioned magical ores, confused by Suguro's ignorance, hinting at something beyond ordinary mining. He explained dungeons, monsters, adventurers, and the dangerous, chaotic world Suguro had unknowingly entered. Realization struck hard. This truly was a fantasy world. Nothing like the Earth he remembered. Suguro examined a glowing blue stone, realizing it might be valuable as a magical ore. The merchant inspected it closely, estimating its purity, and suggested a fair copper-based price. Confused, Suguro asked about its worth, uncertain what such money could buy in town. The answer disappointed him, just a spoonful of dried fruit, barely worth his exhausting effort. He revealed another crystal, unknowingly rare, stunning the merchant, who recognized it as an aether crystal. The merchant explained the crystal's rarity, offering thousands of lark, far beyond Suguro's expectations. Suguro quickly grasped their currency system, exchanging coins while buying simple dried meat for testing, realizing he couldn't survive outdoors. Suguro asked about nearby lodging to ensure safe shelter. The merchant directed him toward Dragon's Den Stop, a local inn costing 5 silvers nightly. Calculating his expenses, Suguro recognized his money would vanish quickly and resolved to mine ores. Determined, Suguro declared his resolve, preparing to prove himself by mining far more. He entered the dungeon again, swearing to gather a full bucket of valuable ore. Yet his bucket remained nearly empty, leaving him frustrated and questioning his strange misfortune. Around him, countless miners dug successfully, while Suguro's efforts yielded nothing but scattered rocks. Doubting himself, he wondered why only he struggled, forced to dig randomly without reward. The horned girl pointed confidently, directing Suguro's attention to a specific mining spot. She declared the place suitable, her calm voice carrying authority beyond her small frame. When questioned, she confirmed directly, leaving to Suguro, stunned by her certainty and mysterious insight. Suguro realized she wasn't human, her horns revealing origins from a fantastical non-human race. She rejected other walls as useless, firmly guiding him to dig exactly where indicated. Suguro doubted her claim, insisting no ore traces existed, yet she remained calm. She explained traces vanish quickly, insisting her guidance was correct despite his clear skepticism. Frustrated, Suguro accused her of lying, but she confidently promised proof through digging. The girl pointed firmly, directing him again, assuring ore would appear if he followed. With one swing, shining ore emerged, astonishing Suguro and proving her strange ability true. Suguro doubted again, claiming her success was luck, yet lifted his pickaxe defiantly. Striking the wall, more ores spilled forth, proving her claim wasn't mere chance. Overwhelmed, Suguro apologized sincerely, acknowledging her strange ability and his earlier disbelief. He realized the dungeon's walls restored themselves, endlessly regenerating despite being mined repeatedly. The girl confirmed calmly, explaining the dungeon's walls would always heal, sustaining constant mining. She explained ores restore slower than walls, making each find precious and difficult. Suguto realized miners tracked restoration cycles, planning work based on which walls renewed. Their gathered ores equaled 5 silvers. Barely enough for survival, yet progress nonetheless. Suguto thanked her sincerely, asking her name. She introduced herself simply as Luri Fei. Suguto revealed his name, questioning her motives for helping despite their unfamiliar connection. When asked why she helped, Luri Fei quietly admitted it was simply about him. She confessed her concern directly, surprising Suguto with her sincerity and gentle honesty. Grateful, Suguto laughed warmly, praising her kindness and thanking her with heartfelt appreciation. Touched by her expression, he patted her head gently, noticing her soft, fluffy hair. Curious, he asked if she was a sheep, prompting her indignant correction as Pecorin. Suguto apologized for misnaming her, promising to remember Pecorin, earning her reluctant forgiveness. As they prepared to exchange ores, Luri Fei suddenly sensed something troubling nearby. A group of intimidating men appeared, with Luri Fei whispering the leader's name Denault. Suguto questioned his identity, but she confirmed bluntly. Denault was dangerous, a notorious bad guy. The gang harassed miners, forcefully stealing their gathered ores while smirking arrogantly at victims. Denault's gang stole ores piece by piece, spreading fear while pretending not to rob everything. The miners tolerated him, too scared or resigned, acting like he was their leader. Suguto clenched his fists, questioning his own thoughts as anger welled inside him. He recalled his past life, always avoiding fights, submitting to others for safety. That cowardice led him to humiliation, betrayal, and ultimately death at someone else's hands. Suguto reflected on his weakness, wondering why his present self felt so different now. A thug demanded 10 stones per person, but Luri Fei firmly refused to hand any. The men claimed they protected miners from monsters, but she exposed their blatant lies. Denault lost patience, shouting furiously, while Luri Fei trembled yet stubbornly refused to surrender anything. Enraged, Denault struck violently, calling her a stinking brat, escalating the tense confrontation further. Suguto suddenly struck Denault, stunning everyone as the gang reacted in shock and disbelief. Denault's men shouted his name, horrified to see their leader stagger from the unexpected hit. Suguto stood firm, dark determination rising, glaring at Denault with unwavering eyes. Something powerful stirred within him, a defiance refusing to yield, even against overwhelming strength. Luri Fei watched silently, surprised by Suguto's sudden transformation and boldness against Denault's gang. Luri Fei spoke softly, her expression calm, yet serious, as if testing Suguto's resolve again. Suguto patted her head gently, reassuring her while she accepted it with quiet composure. Her fluffy hair pressed against his hand, making her seem unexpectedly soft and vulnerable. She puffed her cheeks in frustration, showing irritation at his teasing gestures and words. Yet beneath her sharp gaze, unspoken trust lingered, silently acknowledging Suguto's growing determination. A tense silence filled the rocky path as the man demanded answers from the stranger. The black-haired stranger stayed calm, his piercing gaze unwavering, measuring his opponent's strength and intention. 3 armed enemies approached. The girl assessed the situation and doubted their odds of survival. The thugs shouted threats, demanding the stones, overwhelming her with fear and painful childhood memories. Despite trembling, she screamed back, refusing to surrender, her voice cracking but filled with raw resolve. The girl stood fearless with her shovel, while he stared upward, ashamed of his hesitation. The thug shouted angrily, but the calm man mocked him, casually justifying the stone he threw. As one thug collapsed, panic spread. Someone screamed. He was tagless, a feared kind without status. The gang hesitated. Some urged retreat, realizing they underestimated the girl and the mysterious man. The leader warned him tagless, who act brave die. The man, unmoved, accepted death if needed. Memories of humiliation surged as he remembered crawling, vowing never to die like before. The thug snapped, ready to kill. As the horned girl rushed forward without hesitation, the man stood firm, eyes locked. The thug reached for his blade, tension exploding instantly. A blur of motion cut through the air. Speed and force collided in a blinding flash. With a devastating strike, the girl shattered his defense. Stunned, he staggered, pain overtaking pride. The man shouted in shock as the girl's blade forced their enemy into retreat. Furious, the thug screamed and landed a heavy punch, knocking the brave girl off balance. Enraged and wounded, he struck again, his attack brutal, sending her crashing backwards with terrifying force. She was violently thrown across the ground, her body spinning as dust and pain erupted. He ran to her, heart sinking. Her bloodied body lay still, her strength fading fast. Wounded and crying, the girl bled quietly. She had tried to help him without fear. He held her close, rage and grief dripping into the black void inside his soul. The thug mocked them, shouting cruelty. He threatened the man next, relishing the girl's defeat. The man said nothing, but his clenched lips trembled, his fury boiling beneath deadly silence. Then, his cursed eyes awakened. Dark, terrifying power surged forth, eclipsing all reason and restraint. The thug trembled as those eyes radiated killing intent, rage, and a frightening lack of mercy. The man stood tall, his aura now pure darkness, focused and boiling with destructive purpose. His eyes weren't just cursed, they were curse itself, terrifying enough to make monsters tremble. The thug panicked, stumbling back, begging him to stop. Too afraid to even think straight, dark energy exploded from him, skull-shaped, monstrous, devouring fear, space, and any chance of forgiveness. The cursed energy overwhelmed the thug, who screamed and fled in terror, broken and defeated. Silently, the man watched them flee, then returned to the girl's side without a word. He offered her medicine gently, urging her to drink, his voice calm despite the surrounding quiet. She stirred weakly, her lips bubbling softly, the potion working, life slowly returning to her eyes. Safe inside a shop, she awoke fully. They were loud, but she was alive. In the cozy shop, he checked on her gently. She quietly assured him she was fine. She blinked in confusion, asking where they were. He awkwardly explained, it was a magical shop. He recalled how a street vendor recommended the place, though. A strange old woman caused alarm. Laurie insisted she was healed. The shopkeeper demanded payment, suspecting they were dodging the fee. They both bowed in thanks. He joked for a discount, making even the granny blush. They paid the last coins and dashed away, scolded by the shopkeeper for lingering. Standing in unfamiliar streets, he realized how little money remained and how directionless they now were. He asked about her home, but she confessed she had no house and no parents. She quietly admitted she always slept alone in inns, never knowing where her parents went. She pointed toward the mountains. Her lodging stood near the dungeon, unreachable by nightfall and coin. She apologized for the cost of medicine, her voice soft with guilt and quiet regret. He reassured her kindly, but she offered coins, her own savings, to help them both recover. Together, they counted what they had, just enough for shelter. She thanked him with a blush. She softly claimed the words he said were hers. He'd been saving her all along. Suddenly, a scream nearby broke the moment. A woman lashed out, throwing dishes in panic. Alone in a dark room, Donald stood shaking, haunted by failure, shame, and growing fear. He collapsed in frustration, yelling curses into silence, his rage boiling beneath trembling, narrowed eyes. His stats materialized, cursed and damaged, revealing hidden weaknesses, masked beneath all his skills and stolen strength. The word cursed glared back at him, unforgiving, damning, and carved into his digital fate. Panicked, he realized the wound cost 239 horsepower, too much to survive another fall. Morning bells rang softly as sunlight filled the room where both of them peacefully slept. He stirred, confused by the soft touch. His hand grasped unfamiliar hair beside him in bed. Fully awake, he found her sleeping beside him, confused by her sudden closeness overnight. The two travelers found shelter at Dragon's Den stop, after wandering unfamiliar streets in silence. Suguto woke up confused, noticing one bed untouched, while the other had someone beside him. Despite another bed available, the elf girl slept peacefully beside him, unconcerned with his confusion. He recalled how they arrived here, seeking rest after barely escaping trouble in the nearby forest. At the counter, a towering man stared silently. Suguto wondered if giants ruled this world. Tatsuguto was denied access to the dining hall. Offered a backroom for 5 silvers. He accepted the deal reluctantly, still puzzled why only he faced such restrictions at check. In the elf girl revealed glowing ores, explaining they could produce hot water and power lights. She demonstrated the ores' use, lighting the lamp effortlessly as Suguto watched from the doorway. She explained the bath worked similarly, leaving Suguto flustered at the suggestion of bathing together. Suguto let her eat first, bathed alone, and later fell asleep beside her peacefully. In the morning, he noticed their clothes were washed, as she slept beside him again. She woke up groggily, and he thanked her while asking her to dress herself. Curious, he noticed a metal plate hanging from her neck and asked about it. She panicked, revealing it was a tag, and was shocked that he didn't have one. They arrived at the grand building. Suguto learned it was called the Adventurers Guild. Realizing tagless was an insult, Suguto recalled being called that since arriving in this world. He wondered how everyone knew he lacked a tag, but she said he'd understand soon. Inside, a kind receptionist greeted them warmly and asked if he needed a tag reissued. The elf corrected her this wasn't a reissue. Suguto had never received one to begin with. Suguto worried about the process, but she assured him the guild staff would handle it. The receptionist returned with a tag, asking him to gently squeeze it to begin. He held it tightly as instructed, unsure of what was happening or how it worked. Minutes passed awkwardly with no change, the receptionist insisting it just needed a little more. Suddenly, registration completed, the tag activated alongside a bird-shaped hat he didn't understand at all. A flash of light burst from the tag, projecting strange floating text around Suguto's body. His eyes widened as he stared at the panels, showing stats, levels, and personal data. The receptionist explained the display was his status, viewable only by him and spirit. Linked. Suguto's information showed high constitution, multiple language skills, and a unique accursed evil eye ability. Looking at his tag, he saw his name engraved, his identity officially recognized at last. The receptionist explained that equipping meant pouring MP into gear, enabling tag-based status inspection. She detailed how mana pools worked, storing MP and activating magical equipment called artifacts. Suguto realized the delay was due to his low MP, which the tag partially boosted. When he questioned the negative MP modifier, the receptionist grew uneasy. It was completely unheard of. Trying to recover the moment, she explained the status's field displayed any abnormal conditions like curses. Seeing cursed on his status, Suguto froze, unsure what the term actually meant. He hesitated to ask, fearing it would reveal his curse to the guild receptionist. Before he could overthink, she smiled and asked him to focus on her face. He stared silently, stunned by her beauty, while the elf girl urged him to listen. She introduced herself as Saria, staff of the Adventurers Guild, finally revealing her full identity. Saria explained the tag's name window, allowing users to identify others by focusing mentally. If a tag holder kills another, their tag turns red, marking them a red name. Red names become targets for suppression, and defeating them earns rewards from the Adventurers Guild. Suguto realized how dangerous his untagged status was, and why Lori acted to protect him. Lori urged him to register as an adventurer. Saria excitedly assumed he already planned to. Before Suguto could react, Saria cheerfully dashed off to prepare his adventurer registration papers. Back at the Dragon's Den stop, the dining hall was now open to him. He and Lori ate breakfast together. The food cost 60 lark, only one portion left. Suguto remembered the rule. Dining privileges were only for those officially tagged by the guild. He realized the innkeeper wasn't hostile, just cautious about potential red names hiding without visible tags. Lori refused the meat again, insisting she ate some yesterday as her flimsy excuse. Suguto noticed her discreetly sliding meat his way, realizing she simply disliked eating it altogether. Trying to be fair, he took her salad, but she returned the meat anyway. Curious, he asked why she wanted him to become an adventurer in the first place. Blushing, Lori admitted she also wanted to become an adventurer, not just push him alone. When asked why she couldn't register, Lori quietly revealed she was legally considered a slave. Her tag identified her as a debt slave, bound by ownership to someone named Liesheimer. Lori explained she couldn't work or register until the debt was paid off completely. She admitted she wanted to help by defeating monsters, even if indirectly through Suguto. Suguto understood she wanted to become adventurers together, and with a nod, she confirmed it. Lori confessed her dream: she wanted to level up, grow stronger, and fight back. Saria explained that level represented spiritual strength, a core measure of a person's being. Suguto felt the same urge rising, stronger even than his desire to return home. When asked why, Lori declared she'd beat up the arrogant villains who hurt others. Her fiery passion made Suguto burst into laughter, touched by her fierce yet innocent determination. Luri Fei shouts in protest, flailing dramatically, while others laugh, her sincerity buried under their amusement. He reflects on past weakness, recalling how he failed to stand up during a bus incident. Looking at Luri Fei, he realizes she sees through him, his shame and hesitation laid bare. Determined, he extends his hand, proposing partnership. He wants strength and mutual growth alongside her. Luri Fei gently grasps his hand, accepting the offer, a silent pact forming between them. Luri Fei looks at the city below, vowing to grow stronger alongside Suguto from today. Luri requested Suguto's status, insisting transparency, now that they were officially partners in survival. Suguto revealed his cursed status, weak mana, and dangerous skill, the accursed evil eye. Level 1. Despite his low rank, the girl admired Suguto's unique ability capable of attacking with mere sight. She explained curse, breaking methods, holy church purification, or defeating the caster. Both options carried deadly risks. Suguto questioned himself as the curse's source, while she suspected the evil eye's deeper origin. Suguto examined Luri Fei's stats, shocked by her immense mana pool and long list of skills. Her willpower exceeded his, making Suguto uneasy about his own strength, despite being older. Luri Fei assured him confidently, her talents proving more reliable than his cursed, unstable powers together. They entered the cavern armed and determined, ready to hunt monsters for survival. Moments earlier, they casually planned their goal, collecting 2 baskets of resources for the day. Suguto hesitated, wanting to prepare first, while Luri Fei pushed for immediate monster hunting action. He explained they lacked funds and gear, suggesting they mine stones until properly equipped. Luri Fei argued passionately, fearing danger would strike before they were ready to face it. But Suguto recalled the dungeon's threat level and experienced adventurers, doubting if they could survive yet. Luri Fei insisted they'd manage together, explaining her sound-based tracking skills and the dungeon's weak monsters. Luri Fei explained her sound detector could even estimate enemy numbers, if not too many. Confident in her skills, she moved to arm herself, while Suguto appreciated her precision. With no reason left to hesitate, Suguto agreed they would enter the dungeon together now. Inside, the cavern quickly transformed into a twisting labyrinth, overwhelming them with its scale. They explored cautiously, reaching a dead-end chamber labeled the garbage hole, finding nothing suspicious yet. Luri Fei tossed a stone to test the suspicious floor, watching it bounce unnaturally. The floor collapsed violently, revealing the deadly garbage hole. A bottomless trap, with a 0% survival rate. Suguto peered over the edge, unsettled. It was too deep to see the bottom clearly. They turned back cautiously, choosing a safer path before getting lost in the twisting tunnels. Suddenly, Luri Fei detected monsters nearby. Suguto panicked, facing real combat for the first time ever. Luri Fei panicked upon seeing the enemy, shouting and swinging wildly with her shovel in fear. Suguto spotted the monster charging. It was fast, aggressive, and closing the distance rapidly. Observing green skin and sharp ears, Suguto realized they were under attack by a goblin. The goblin lunged with a roar. Suguto froze briefly before instincts kicked in under pressure. With no time to hesitate, Suguto raised his weapon and swung straight at the goblin. Suguto threw the pickaxe at the charging goblin, but his aim was wildly inaccurate. Miraculously, the weapon struck heavy iron, forcefully smashed the goblin back, buying them a brief moment. Suguto noticed the creature's blood was blue, realizing how alien these monsters truly were. The goblin lunged again unexpectedly, tackling Suguto to the ground before he could react. Suguto panicked beneath its jaws, desperate and terrified as sharp teeth lunged toward his face. Luri Fei smashed the goblin with her shovel, saving Suguto just in time. She didn't hesitate, slamming the monster again, even as it pinned Suguto beneath its weight. Suguto realized her blows weren't strong enough. The goblin was still overpowering them with brute force. Luri Fei screamed and leapt forward, using her full weight in a desperate overhead strike. With precision, she jabbed her shovel into the goblin's left eye, halting its deadly assault. Suguto landed a direct punch, destroying the goblin's right eye, and finally ending the threat. Gasping for breath, he realized he'd gained experience. His level had just increased to 9. His stats improved dramatically, stronger, faster, smarter, and more determined. He was finally evolving as an adventurer. Testing his weapon, Suguto noticed the pickaxe felt significantly lighter than it did before. Smiling, he realized just 2 points in strength could change the outcome of survival battles. Lurifei triumphantly raised her shovel in the air, radiating pride and sparkles like a champion. Suguto watched in disbelief. She looked completely serious, posing like a heroic adventurer from legend. She teased him happily, and he awkwardly mimicked her pose with his pickaxe in sync. They exchanged level-up news, Lurifei bragging humorously and demanding to be called master in celebration. She calmly explained goblin ear harvesting for guild-proof, using a tiny knife meant for hair. Suguto confidently declared the next step of their journey, determined to stay organized and safe. He revealed their earnings 2,204 lark, grinning as their hard work had clearly paid off. Lurifei pouted, frustrated they hadn't gone deeper. Suguto reminded her the decision was about survival. He explained their plan: mine magical ores, stay near escape routes, and avoid overwhelming monster waves. As they wrapped up, Suguto handed her some money and asked about her lodging. Suguto liked the cheap-in idea, but Lurifei revealed it was for slaves only. Curious about slave rules, Suguto wondered if they could trade or lodge without a master. At the marketplace, they met Rael, a friendly D-rank merchant, who'd helped them earlier. Suguto bought dry fruit and gently asked Lurifei to hold out her hands. Surprised, Lurifei received the gift from Suguto. He quietly confirmed the treat was really for her. Suguto smiled, calling the fruit a gift, and urging Lurifei to eat and prepare. She softly accepted the gift, grateful and touched, nodding with quiet thanks and wide eyes. Rael confirmed Suguto's workaround was valid. Gifts weren't restricted like direct slave to merchant transactions. But Rael revealed stalls actually could sell to slaves, surprising Suguto with unnecessary overthinking. Embarrassed, Suguto realized he'd tried too hard to look cool. Rael laughed and forgave him playfully. Lurifei cherished the dry fruit, smiling warmly, showing how much Suguto's gift meant. Elsewhere, chaos stirred in town as someone urgently called for Danault, disrupting the quiet. Danault, armored and tense, was confronted about his sudden preparation, but he silenced questions aggressively, declaring vengeance. Danault swore to hunt down the mysterious Tagless, his sword gleaming with intent. Lurifei watches quietly as Suguto sits distant. She gently asks if he's still feeling angry. Suguto stays silent, his gaze fixed forward, troubled thoughts lingering from the earlier confrontation they faced. Sitting apart, Lurifei hugs her knees, noting Suguto hasn't spoken a single word since then. Suguto finally speaks, describing the E-rank dungeon, magical ore cavern, filled with weak yet dangerous underground creatures. On their second monster hunt, Suguto is ambushed by a giant rat lunging violently from shadows. After defeating the monster, Suguto levels up, gaining constitution and reaching level 10 with relief. Lurifei notices something odd below and suddenly realizes Suguto's shoes are different from yesterday's pair. Suguto confirms her observation, recalling his recent visit to a local armor shop near the guild. At the shop, he learns new shoes are expensive unless he trades his old ones. Realizing his sneakers are rare here, Suguto agrees to trade them despite their worn, dirty appearance. Suguto agrees to trade his sneakers, shocking the merchant by offering such unfamiliar footwear. In return, Suguto receives Yingqian Shielder boots, durable, rare gear that enhances his constitution. Based abilities, Suguto reflects on the exchange value, now fully equipped, while Lurifei complains about unequal battle roles. Realizing Lurifei gains no experience from scouting, Suguto plans to let her finish weakened enemies. While exploring further, Lurifei senses an unknown presence nearby, alerting Suguto with a quiet, cautious reaction. Suguto senses danger despite seeing nothing, and tells Lurifei to stay cautious with her shovel ready. He proceeds deeper, trusting Lurifei's instincts, knowing her enemy detection has never been wrong before. Suddenly, a monstrous spider appears overhead. Lurifei looks up as Suguto screams for her to dodge. The great poisonous spider descends rapidly, forcing Lurifei to react before it crashes down upon her. Suguto lunges forward, but realizes he's too far away to reach her in time. The spider crashes violently to the ground, kicking up dust and shaking the cave with force. Suguto watches in horror as Lurifei lies beneath the monster's legs, fearing the worst immediately. Blood drips heavily as Suguto approaches, Realizing the spider has stopped moving, possibly already fatally wounded, against expectations, Lurifei had struck first, jamming her shovel into the spider's mouth with fierce precision. But just as they breathe, the spider's jaw rises again, alive, angrier, and ready to strike. As the spider attacks again, Suguto hurls his weapon, desperately trying to protect a fallen Lurifei. Wounded but defiant, Lurifei drives her shovel upward and violently ends the monster's life herself. Her screen flashes. She levels up from 7 to 9. Eyes wide, breathing hard. Later, Lurifei believes Suguto is angry at her for failing to notice the spider sooner, but Suguto smiles gently, reassuring her he was only reflecting, not angry, grateful she's safe instead. Suguto pats Lurifei's head gently, silently acknowledging her effort and the danger she survived. Lurifei puffs her cheeks, insisting they're partners and should reflect together after surviving near death. Suguto silently acknowledges his mistake, relying entirely on Lurifei's detection against such stealthy, deadly monsters. They agree to prepare better next time with potions, antidotes, and clear strategies if fleeing fails. Suguto warns Lurifei not to rush into battle solo, even though she's grown stronger. Now Suguto says goodbye for the day. Lurifei nods confidently, promising not to hunt monsters alone. While waving him off, Lurifei reaffirms her vow aloud, gripping her shovel with renewed determination. Rather than hunting, Lurifei chooses to mine stones, deciding it's safer and still valuable work. With empowered strength, she digs rapidly, surprised by how effective her new level has made her. Lurifei plans to repay debts and reunite with Suguto by working hard, one bucket at a time. As Lurifei cheerfully digs, an unknown group of adventurers approaches with curious and suspicious intent. A confident armored man leads his rough-looking group directly toward Lurifei's peaceful mining spot. Meanwhile, Suguto negotiates potion prices, but refuses the high rate offered at the marketplace. The merchant, Agatha, smugly insists it's the market rate and dares him to leave. Selling the spider fang earns Suguto 7,020 lark, barely enough to cover healing items for two. Suguto argues for a discount, calling the merchant an old hag while listing his needs. He explains Lurifei was poisoned before and needs the potions. His concern sounds almost desperate. With a sly grin, Suguto guilt tricks her emotionally, pushing her to act with compassion. Agatha caves in. He gets all potions for 6,000 lark and leaves with cheeky remarks. Walking home, Suguto debates buying dry fruit for Lurifei, deciding a small treat is okay. Deep inside the cavern, Lurifei digs stones peacefully until the adventurer group from earlier approaches her. Their leader tells her to relax, claiming he didn't come to take her mind stones. He mentions Suguto, the black-haired man, implying his demand has something to do with her companion. Suddenly, the man's tone shifts, furious. He demands Suguto's whereabouts, calling him a tagless. Lurifei's heart pounds as the atmosphere turns hostile, realizing the man's intentions may be dangerous. Lurifei clenches her shovel and bravely refuses to reveal Suguto's location to the armored man. The man responds with violence, punching her hard and warning that he'll ask again. Bruised and struggling, Lurifei clutches the dry fruit Suguto gave her, holding back her tears. Towering over her, he threatens again, either speak or be crushed under his brute force. Lurifei's thoughts flash to Suguto's gentle smile, finding strength in his kindness despite her pain. Bloodied and determined, Lurifei slams the ground and screams her refusal with fierce, unwavering resolve. Meanwhile, Suguto eats the dry fruit he bought, unaware of the danger Lurifei faces. Thinking casually, Suguto wonders what kind of fruit it is and plans to ask her. But while he muses, Lurifei is beaten and dragged unconscious toward a dark, forbidden tunnel. She's thrown into the dreaded garbage hole, a place known for its 0% survival rate. Lurifei, unconscious and injured, is tossed helplessly into the deadly void of the garbage hole. The boy dreamed of becoming a great adventurer, driven by wonder and hope within. He trained hard every day, swinging swords and digging trenches, chasing that legendary title earnestly. In time, he gained strength, recognition, and close comrades who fought beside him loyally. But one mission changed everything. A towering black-skinned monster appeared, holding his comrade helplessly aloft. A cyclops emerged during goblin cleanup, an unnatural predator, far beyond anything they'd ever fought before. The heavy warrior charged first, only to lose his leg ripped apart like a doll. The hunter tried to shoot, but his arms rotted instantly, collapsing with his broken bow, and that boy, once hopeful and brave, froze in fear, watching his friends die helplessly. Without drawing his sword, he turned and ran, haunted by their silent, betrayed stares. His dreams died that day. Years later, he survived by scamming drunks and mugging strangers. Danalt's gaze darkened, eyes hardened by guilt, failure, and years of watching others die. In the crystal-lined cave, debt slaves mined stone, endlessly, scraping by under oppressive surveillance and fatigue. Among the miners, one boy noticed a familiar absence. Luri Fei had vanished without a trace. A nearby slave, Temses, bore the same ownership mark, hinting at a shared grim fate. When questioned, Temses flinched, remembering Danalt's involvement with Luri Fei just the day before, dread forming silently within. The panicked boy learned Luri Fei quarreled with Danalt and was dragged into the lower dungeon. Only Danalt's group returned. Later, Luri Fei was missing, her fate unknown. Tension growing inside the boy, guilt and rage collided. Realizing he provoked Danalt, the boy questioned if her disappearance was his fault. He recalled dungeon paths, each split into dead ends, designed like traps within an underground labyrinth. Fueled by fear and desperation, he ran into darkness, convinced Luri Fei was still somewhere ahead. The boy entered the monster-infested dungeon, aware of the danger yet unwilling to turn back. Rumors spread quickly. He had acquired a tag, proving he wasn't hiding a criminal status. Meanwhile, Danalt remained silent at the table, brooding, as his name stirred unease again. Despite concerns, Danalt abruptly stood and ordered his men to follow, intent unknown, purpose unspoken. Observers noted Danalt's behavior changed since meeting the black-haired boy. Something inside him had clearly shifted. Danalt's group received orders to confront the tagless boy, who'd stirred Danalt's vengeance and instability. With focused steps, Danalt advanced, tension building, silently gripping his weapon as emotions boiled beneath calm. Meanwhile, monsters ambushed others, screams echoed, bodies fell, and the dungeon became a field of blood. The boy launched a furious blow, leveling up from sheer rage and survival instinct, mid-combat, yet amidst chaos. He realized Luri Fei wasn't there, then collapsed, cursed and paralyzed by dungeon magic. His body trembled, cursed, poisoned, paralyzed, yet he shouted Luri Fei's name through sheer desperation. Clutching 2 potions, he hesitated, uncertain if they'd be enough to save Luri Fei if injured. A memory of Luri Fei flashed across his mind, giving him the strength to push forward. Exhausted and bleeding, he realized 4 wrong turns left only one unexplored path to reach her. Fueled by stubborn hope, he charged into the last corridor, certain Luri Fei was waiting ahead. Reaching the final corridor, he froze. Every chosen path so far had led to nothing. A memory surfaced. Luri Fei once mentioned the far right path, her voice echoing in his thoughts. His eyes widened. She called it the garbage hole, a place avoided by all workers. Dread settled in. The only unexplored path was that cursed hole where trash and danger festered. Terrified but resolute, he forced his legs forward, knowing he had no other choice left. He spotted Danalt's group ahead, blocking the final passage. His arrival halted their advance. The 2 locked eyes, Danalt armored and stern, the boy bloodied, silent, and unshaken. The boy demanded answers. Danalt, Riot, and Garnon froze, unsettled by his presence and pressure. A strange aura surrounded him, darker than criminal intent, unsettling enough to stop them cold. Stepping forward, the boy demanded again, "Where is Luri Fei?" His voice sharpened by rage and urgency. Danalt finally snapped, confessing Luri Fei's murder, warning the boy to back off or die next. A heavy silence fell until a ripple broke it, like darkness awakening from within. Drenched in shadow, the boy stood transformed, his presence now monstrous, reeking of overwhelming murderous intent. He realized their trick, unequipping tags before killing, escaping the red name system through cruel deception. As new skills awakened, he understood magic, detection, mastery, all now fueled by his rising fury. The boy shattered his tag, metal fragments flew, symbolizing the moment he cast rules aside. His eyes burned with silent resolve. Every movement screamed one command: to kill without mercy. Danalt panicked, shouting threats and bargaining for life, already feeling his health rapidly deteriorate. The boy said nothing, only one word echoed: die. Cold, absolute, leaving no room for negotiation. The repeated word echoed in Denault's mind, louder than battle cries, chilling, final, impossible to escape. Denault screamed, overwhelmed by the killing intent, radiating from the boy words replaced by raw terror. He lunged in desperation, blade slashing down, but the boy took the hit without flinching. Blood spilled, yet the boy stood firm, calmly raised his hand, gaze never leaving Denault's eyes. Denault's fear spiked, comrades frozen behind him, watching something far beyond a mere fight unfold. With awakened magic, the boy summoned vengeful energy. Skulls howled, death surged, his soul demanding retribution. His health drained rapidly. Panic set in as he realized death was approaching far too fast. Locked in a deadly grip, he struggled, overwhelmed by the enemy's terrifying physical strength. Crushed by pressure, regret filled his heart. Every abandoned dream replayed in his breaking mind. Visions of former comrades flashed before him, igniting guilt he buried long ago within himself. Facing the men he once betrayed, he questioned why he ever left them behind. He remembered their smiling faces, realizing he had abandoned them during a time of need. Kneeling, he confessed his regrets aloud, while the enemy approached with unwavering, merciless killing intent. Struck down in silence, he collapsed beside his fallen sword, blood soaking the dirt below. His trembling hand clutched the hilt. Unable to move, death arrived as his remorse consumed him. She promised to grow stronger alongside Suguto, sealing the pact with a determined handshake. But that promise shattered. Her partner was murdered, leaving her in silence and gripping the shovel. The killers stood arrogantly before Suguto, unaware of the rage igniting behind his blood-stained eyes. One attacker was caught off guard, brutally kicked, weapon flung, the battlefield tilting with rising violence. Without hesitation, Suguto struck back, his sword slicing through air. Vengeance now guided his every move. The girl drove the shovel into the enemy's back, ending his attack instantly and brutally. Suguto countered the second attacker, slicing his weapon mid-swing, stunning him with precise force. Blood sprayed, Suguto advanced coldly. The last man staggered, overwhelmed by fear and disbelief. The lone survivor trembled, backing away, witnessing vengeance take form through Suguto's merciless gaze. With one clean swing, Suguto ended it, his blade-splitting skull, justice delivered without hesitation. Wounded and desperate, the last man crawled for a potion as Suguto closed in. Before he could reach it, Suguto's blade pierced his chest, silencing him instantly. Watching his comrades fall, one survivor realized Suguto showed no mercy, no forgiveness for anyone. Suddenly, he shouted, revealing the girl was alive, discarded, but not killed by their hands. They confessed. Panicked, she'd been hurt and thrown into a pit, but left still breathing. The man begged for mercy, promising to help search, even willing to lie to survive. Suguto calmly used a potion, silently recovering, his expression unreadable beneath blood and determination. The bandit gasped as Suguto equipped his tag, revealing his name and adventurer rank. Suguto commanded him to stand. They headed toward the pit. The bandit misunderstood his mercy. Without warning, Suguto kicked him into the hole. Justice served where she had once fallen. Suguto asked for the man's HP, calmly checking the numbers without showing emotion. Activating his power, Suguto's cursed eye locked onto the man. Panic immediately filled his face. The bandit's HP dropped, a cursed status appeared. Suguto revealed it had just begun. Suguto noticed his own stats shifted too. The cursed tag now synced with his status. The cursed skill drained MP and enemy HP equally, confirming Suguto's evolving dangerous power. Tuto reminded him of his earlier claim: survival was guaranteed. Even from this fall, the man nervously echoed his lie, realizing too late the pit meant certain death. Suguto kicked him off the edge without hesitation, his face expressionless, heart unmoved. Falling rapidly, the bandit screamed. Horrified, Suguto re-equipped his tag before killing, breaking all rules. Suguto watched silently as the screams faded into darkness, his judgment now beyond mercy. Suguto waited silently, counting minutes, heart racing, still unsure if she truly survived the fall. Realizing he wasn't branded a killer, hope returned. Lori Fei might still be alive below. Gripping resolve, he dove into the pit, driven by purpose, not fear or regret. Eyes wide open, Suguto scanned the void, searching, refusing to miss even the smallest sign. Blinding light erupted in the dark abyss. His descent marked the start of something greater. Suguto crashed into deep underground water, barely conscious, gasping as the cold surrounded him. He realized the fall was survivable, thanks to the depth, but danger lurked beneath immediately. A massive blue killer fish attacked from below. Suguto reacted quickly, stabbing it mid-charge. He surfaced, gasping for air, relieved to survive the ambush, but weakened by exhaustion. Surrounded by a vast underwater cave, Suguto saw the exit was impossibly far away. Suguto spotted a path and swam with urgency, barely escaping the dangers below. The water stilled behind him, no more signs of movement, only silence and ripples. Soaked and exhausted, Suguto confirmed Lorifei's tag remained white. She hadn't died from the fish. He entered a towering chamber. Strange formations and silence marked a shift in the environment. Realizing this wasn't the fifth layer, Suguto deduced it was somewhere far more dangerous. Massive rocks blocked Suguto's view, making the cavern full of blind spots and potential threats. He noticed a narrow path through the stone and cautiously moved toward the opening. There, on the wall, he saw a small red handprint, clear and unsettling. He touched the dry mark. Heart racing, someone had passed this way not long ago. He followed the continuing handprints, retracing her impossible journey through pain, monsters, and near death. Despite the odds, Suguto pressed on, believing Lorifei was still somewhere deep within. Turning a corner, he spotted her slumped beside a handprint, barely conscious and motionless. Suddenly, someone else approached. Suguto stayed alert, watching the footsteps ripple through the shallow water. Lorifei, weak but defiant, shouted that she wouldn't reveal where Suguto was hiding. Suguto froze, hearing his name from her lips, her will to protect him still unbroken. Lorifei screamed in defiance, protecting Suguto. Unaware he stood nearby, hearing every word. He stepped around the boulder and finally saw her, injured, exhausted, yet still standing. Their eyes met in silence. Her expression softened as she reached toward him. Lorifei whispered his name. Suguto trembled, relieved, overwhelmed by her will to protect him. Without a word, she collapsed into his arms. He held her tightly, silently promising everything. Suguto gave Lorifei a potion. She struggled to drink, exhausted and weak from injuries. Lorifei insisted she wasn't crying. She tried to appear strong despite her trembling and tears. While holding her, Suguto reflected she could have betrayed him, but chose to remain silent instead. He realized Lorifei had endured trauma, pain, and fear, yet survived and protected him selflessly. Moved to tears, Suguto told her she was an incredible girl. Lorifei looked up quietly. The girl gently approached and sat beside him, offering silent comfort as he broke down. She promised to keep his secret. He admitted weakness, but felt hope through her support. A monstrous being awakened with will, wielding forbidden power, devouring everything. Becoming feared across lands, its terrifying eye radiated authority, proclaiming without doubt its position as the uncontested monstrous king. Meanwhile, villagers celebrated joyfully, hailing the heroine who raised Excalibur high, embodying hope against darkness. Crowds cheered Lorifei, the revered heroine, as she stood proudly, symbolizing strength and salvation to all. Later, exhaustion overtook Lorifei, her body collapsing gently, revealing vulnerability beneath her divine, heroic image. Lorifei awoke confused, realizing she was beside the man who saved her from certain death. Though exhausted, the potion restored her strength. Memories of being discarded into the garbage hole lingered painfully. The two discussed survival, deciding to explore the dangerous dungeon rather than climb the impossible hole. Supplies were scarce. He insisted she eat meat too, or malnutrition would threaten her survival. Reluctantly, she pressed onward, avoiding meat, determined to escape, while he observed her stubborn resolve silently. Lorifei warned the path ahead was dangerous, mentioning a formidable, big guy blocking progress. She explained nervously, stretching arms wide, confirming it was a monster of considerable size. The man considered carefully, deciding they should secretly verify the threat before planning further. After minutes of walking, they reached a fork. Lorifei confidently chose the left path. Soon strange noises echoed. Both stopped cautiously, realizing something large moved nearby in the darkness. Peering into the open area, he froze, sensing an overwhelming presence lurking within. His fears confirmed. Before him stood a colossal figure, unmistakably a monstrous enemy, emerging from the waters. The Cyclops revealed terrifying strength, muscles bulging, eye glaring menacingly. The beast thrashed violently, hurling sharks from the waters. leaving them stunned in disbelief. His eyes widened in horror, realizing the Cyclops' power exceeded anything they had imagined. The Cyclops tore apart sharks with brutal force, devouring them as blood stained the waters red. Yet the waters churned further. It wasn't only Cyclops. Another predator was present too. Chaos erupted as Cyclops and blue killer fish clashed savagely, cannibalizing each other relentlessly. Watching disgusted, he realized their mutual destruction might create an opportunity to escape unnoticed. Suddenly, Cyclops roared fiercely, unleashing a shockwave that shook the cavern, leaving him utterly horrified. A violent force erupted, blowing away the waters, leaving them stunned by overwhelming power. The sudden surge struck fiercely. He shielded Luri Fei, desperately trying to protect her from drowning. Swept helplessly, he clutched her tightly, carried uncontrollably by the raging current's merciless strength. They resurfaced amidst chaos, coughing water, gasping desperately, relieved to have survived the violent flood. Recovering ashore, they questioned the event. Realizing it wasn't magic, but some terrifying monster skill, they analyzed the Cyclops, concluding its black skin marked it as a dangerous subspecies. Deciding to avoid confrontation, they revisited the earlier fork, preparing to investigate the unexplored path. Minutes later, Luri Fei pointed eagerly at another fork, her energy contrasting the dungeon's grim atmosphere. Tatsuguto hesitated, sensing something troubling, but agreed to continue forward, trusting her instincts despite uncertainty. Suddenly, Luri Fei dashed ahead enthusiastically, leaving Tatsuguto startled by her reckless behavior within such danger. Tatsuguto shouted after Luri Fei, shocked at her sudden sprint, deeper into the cavern's depths. Ahead, an unbelievable sight appeared: 3 massive treasure chests, resting upon a central stone platform. Luri Fei's eyes sparkled with awe, overwhelmed by the discovery, captivated by the treasure's grandeur. Tatsuguto approached cautiously, realizing they were indeed treasure chests, though unusually enormous and ornate. Suspicion gnawed at him, despite appearances. Something about the treasure felt dangerously unnatural. They realized the treasure wasn't natural. Somebody deliberately placed the ornate chests inside. Luri Fei recklessly opened one, ignoring warnings about traps, insisting everything seemed harmless enough. Inside lay a simple knife, far less impressive than the ornate chest's design. Another chest revealed a small ring, leaving them puzzled by such underwhelming discoveries. Despite disappointment, unease lingered. The unnatural placement suggested deeper dangers within the dungeon's mysteries. Luri Fei declared it fate, her eyes sparkling with conviction as she embraced their discovery. She triumphantly raised the scoop, celebrating, though Tatsuguto felt underwhelmed by the odd equipment. Then realization struck: these were artifacts, rare treasures infused with unique powers adventurers desperately sought. Each item carried engraved skills: knife of critical sight, ring of storage, scoop's aggression. Tatsuguto was stunned to think all 3 mundane-looking items were genuine powerful artifacts. Luri Fei clutched the scoop proudly, declaring it hers. While Tatsuguto questioned her strange choice, she insisted, claiming rightful ownership, while Tatsuguto reluctantly agreed, hiding his temptation for the item. Though he desired it, Tatsuguto gave in, swayed by Luri Fei's determined, sparkling eyes. She thanked him sincerely, promising to treasure it, leaving Tatsuguto quietly conflicted about his decision. In exchange, she offered him the knife and ring, though guilt lingered heavily inside. With nothing else discovered, they decided to return, retracing steps toward the previous fork. Tatsuguto grew uneasy, recognizing repeating forks within this layer. Realizing the dungeon's structure was problematic, they advanced cautiously, heading for the left path, determined to explore what remained unsearched. Another fork appeared ahead, splitting into 2 paths, front left and back right. Alarm struck Tatsuguto upon spotting a blackened handprint, confirming his worst suspicions of danger. Tatsuguto revealed his conclusion, explaining the cave's structure suggested hidden mechanisms and possible escape routes. He calmly told Luri Fei the bad news first: the layer likely had no exit. Luri Fei listened closely, realizing survival depended on uncovering secrets hidden within the artificial cave design. Tatsuguto reassured her, suggesting that although no exit existed, escape remained achievable through discovery. Remembering the treasure chests, Tatsuguto believed the cave's artificial mechanisms concealed their hidden way out. Tatsuguto questioned Luri Fei about monsters' origins, sharing knowledge gathered from guild research and experiences. He explained 3 possibilities: monsters migrating, breeding inside, or being abducted through dungeon distortions. Spatial distortions drag beings inside, making small caves appear vast, entrapping both people and creatures. Suguto revealed the inverse: defeating the dungeon's boss could forcibly trigger escape through distortion. Yet, he quietly wondered if facing such a boss was truly good news. Suguto encouraged Luri Fei, proposing they escape the dungeon together and start adventuring as partners. Luri Fei agreed firmly, and Suguto directed her attention toward the threat looming ahead. The monstrous boss appeared before them, and both prepared to fight side by side. The two prepared for combat, exchanging silent resolve, before stepping forward onto uncertain battlefield ground. Facing a swarm of monstrous fish, the duo launched into action without hesitation or fear. Elsewhere, a giant creature awakened, dragged into a dungeon's isolated world filled with hostile predators. Over time, the giant lost thought and emotion, adapting only to survive against endless fish. Sensing powerful presences nearby, the giant stirred, feeling stimulation after countless years in silent, brutal captivity. The Cyclops sensed something unfamiliar, a powerful gaze locking onto him from the distant cave. A day earlier, the Cyclops had felt fear triggered by a human's soul, piercing magical stare. The duo planned escape, knowing defeating the Cyclops might be the only viable option. Despite her confidence, he remained cautious, warning that her courage likely came from the magical scoop. They devised a strategy, hiding behind rocks, waiting to strike as the Cyclops approached again. He tried weakening the Cyclops quietly, but things escalated far faster than he expected. With no other choice, he shouted the signal and rushed forward with determination. Knowing the danger of close combat, he focused on reducing its health from range. He activated the accursed evil eye, linking his life to the Cyclops with deadly consequence. The Cyclops screamed, staggered, as the soul-linked curse drained it from the inside out. Realizing the danger, he ceased using evil eye and ran as the Cyclops pursued relentlessly. Pushed to his limits, he sprinted forward, desperate to reach safety, just in time. The Cyclops shattered its restraints and advanced, unaware a trap had already been set. Suguto revealed the relocated rock, now blocking escape, turning the Cyclops' path into a trap. A dungeon map showed Suguto's plan: trap the Cyclops, escape, and reach treasure before collapse. Luri Fei was surprised by Suguto's decision to move all the rocks by himself. He explained the evil eye's full effect activates after 480 seconds of continuous running. He asked for her hand, preparing to use an enchanted ring for assistance. She tested the glove's compatibility, successfully storing the rock. With a surprised look, using the item box skill, she could now store and summon rocks at will. He reassured her even her small arms could move the massive rock with the ring. Suguto confirmed the gap's size and prepared to use Evil Eye through limited visibility. The Cyclops climbed over the rock, falling right into the next step of Suguto's trap. It entered the narrow stone corridor, an area Suguto had claimed as his battlefield advantage. With rocks lining both sides, Suguto sprinted ahead, forcing the Cyclops into restricted movement space. Suguto activated Evil Eye while fleeing, slowly draining the Cyclops before leading it away. He planned to run in circles, weakening it enough to fall for their trap. But unexpectedly, the Cyclops stopped its posture, shifting unnaturally as it stood completely still. Sensing something wrong, Suguto bolted, alarmed by the sudden change in the Cyclops' behavior. With glowing eyes, the Cyclops charged with terrifying speed, ignoring obstacles and all previous patterns. Suguto endured overwhelming pressure, staggering as the Cyclops' aura intensified beyond normal magical resistance. His body trembled, organs strained under invisible weight, bones aching under magical force unlike anything before. He realized in horror the Cyclops itself was an Evil Eye user, manipulating pressure directly. It was moving under Evil Eye influence, something Suguto thought impossible under magic mastery rules. Drained and desperate, Suguto failed to reduce its HP enough to ensure a kill. Out of mana and options, Suguto dropped coins signaling defeat, surrendering to the Cyclops. But he smirked. If he were alone, maybe he'd accept death. But he's not. Dodging impact, Suguto escaped the Cyclops' charge, barely surviving the crushing pressure and debris. Using staggered rocks for cover, he crawled forward, determined to endure and survive against long-range attacks. Luri Fei noticed the scattered coins, Suguto's prearranged signal to trigger the final part of their plan. Suguto collapsed, realizing the Cyclops' evil eye was growing stronger as their distance narrowed. Doubt struck him, but he rejected despair, remembering he crawled forward not to escape, but win. Suguro reached the fork. The Cyclops had taken the altered path just as they planned. Seeing restored rocks ahead, Suguro knew Luri Fei had executed her role perfectly behind the scenes. Luri Fei repositioned the rocks, trapping the Cyclops again, while Suguro advanced toward the final trap. With the evil eye's grip broken at the fork, Suguro sprinted forward without hesitation. The Cyclops' mind faltered, confused by the split path and its target's sudden escape. Once feared as unstoppable, it now raged humiliated by a smaller, clever prey outmaneuvering it. In a blind frenzy, the Cyclops began smashing rocks as it barreled forward in pursuit. Exhausted but focused, Suguro pushed toward the final fork, desperate to reach the next stage. Suguro spotted the coins, Luri Fei's signal confirming the Cyclops had entered the final trap zone. The forked coins confirmed Luri Fei's success. Suguro sprinted toward the dangerous flooded chamber without hesitation. The Cyclops smiled, believing the deep, magical fish-filled chamber ahead guaranteed the human's doom. Mocking the futile rock barrier, the Cyclops sneered, confident no obstacle could stop his pursuit. Though he'd climbed the rock before, he still didn't understand how his prey moved it. The Cyclops crouched, consumed by dark thoughts, imagining torment as his primal instincts reawakened fully. Muscles tensed. The Cyclops prepared to crush the prey's tricks with sheer power and dominance. He stood before the flooded abyss, unaware the lake had been solidified beneath his feet. Suguro knelt calmly on the disguised ground, appearing weak but fully in control of everything. Luri Fei waited below the surface, watching silently, ready to strike at the perfect moment. Suguro smirked confidently, having anticipated the Cyclops would follow and climb the central rock pillar. As expected, the Cyclops leapt upward, positioning itself atop the large stone between the cliffs. Beneath its feet, the ground shattered, revealing a pit teeming with monstrous, flesh-hungry aquatic beasts. The Cyclops fell into the trap, flailing as the creatures below lunged toward its exposed body. With the beast gone, Lori activated the mechanism, sealing the pit and completing their planned ambush. The Cyclops is knocked backward into a pit filled with monsters. Escape now seems possible. The monster screams, falling deeper. A huge boulder drops, sealing the exit with crushing force. Luri Fei looks up. Alert, he watches silently, as the sealed entrance traps them inside again. The surroundings fall quiet. Small sounds echo. Luri Fei's ear twitches, sensing danger, or possible movement below. They wait cautiously. Luri Fei prepares. When silence confirms the Cyclops' death, they'll move the boulder. The Cyclops fell directly into their trap, just as the human strategist had carefully planned. Nearly a day earlier, they agreed the trap must be a deep concealed pitfall. They'd use a submerged zone, fill it with rocks, and seal it using a boulder. The man demonstrated the ferocious fish aggressive and fast, but easily caught using simple movements. Their plan, fill the pit with these monsters, either death by drowning, or getting devoured. The plan succeeded. Both survived. The Cyclops was sealed below. Hope returned to their eyes. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed. The girl sensed it first. Something unusual was happening below. The rocks beneath them began shifting. Grinding noises grew louder. Their footing started to break apart. The rocky platform shook violently. The entire layer collapsed around them, triggering chaotic falling debris. The massive boulder dislodged. It fell toward them, a deadly force crashing from above. Luri Fei and the man fell. He reached for her, desperate to protect her mid-collapse. Before impact, Luri Fei activated item box. The rock vanished, saving them both in seconds. They landed safely. He praised her power. She smiled, comforted by his joyful relief. Flashback, Luri Fei snacked calmly, while magical particles shimmered nearby. A quiet moment before planning the trap. A pebble moved oddly. He asked if she'd kicked it. She denied it, confused. He sensed something. A pebble shifted unnaturally. His instincts warned him something had changed below. He confirmed it. Dungeon walls automatically restore themselves, even after being struck or partially destroyed. They floated amid broken rocks. A realization hit him. This was part of the dungeon's regeneration. If the rocks were dungeon parts, moving them triggered regeneration. Their trap might have consequences. Suddenly, a headless cyclops regenerated emerging from darkness, stomping forward. Their nightmare wasn't over yet. The cyclops struck with full force. Suguto shielded Lori Fei, using his arm as defense. The sheer impact launched them across the water's surface, scattering waves in every direction. The blow shattered Suguto's arm and ribs. He blacked out mid-air but survived thanks to water. They both sank. Lori Fei gripped Suguto tightly, trying to keep him afloat as danger loomed. Lori Fei gasped for air. She pulled Suguto onto a rock, begging him to wake up. Lori Fei shouted his name, crying for Suguto to wake up while keeping him barely afloat. Suguto opened his eyes, disoriented. The Cyclops loomed again. Their safety was still uncertain. He pushed Lori Fei aside just in time. His instincts screamed danger as the Cyclops struck. The Cyclops landed. Water exploded upward. Suguto stood weakly. Lori Fei was tossed to the side. Lori Fei gasped underwater, her lungs strained, body trembling. The pressure was crushing her from within. Suguto knelt before the Cyclops, paralyzed by the evil eye's overwhelming pressure and power. Blood vessels burst, bones broke. He accepted defeat until Lori Fei screamed, charging with a desperate swing. Seeing her struggle, Suguto's broken body stirred. His eyes locked on her through the chaos. She wasn't giving up. He realized surrendering while she fought would be shameful, even cowardly. He awakened his cursed ability. Power surged. The evil eye's energy now pulsed through his glare. The Cyclops sensed something unfamiliar. Panic. For the first time, his fear wasn't from pain. Enraged by weakness, the Cyclops charged. His pride as king couldn't tolerate losing dominance. He had crushed countless lives without remorse. Now that terror was turned back upon him. Lori Fei struck from behind with full force. Her iron scoop delivered a direct critical blow. She took damage too but didn't stop. Even pain couldn't override her will to fight. From above, a corpse fell discarded with debris, but still clutching a weapon tightly in death. The boy, Donald, pierced the Cyclops' shoulder. His final act. A thrust full of regret, Donald vanished beneath the water. Releasing the blade, his soul finally found peace in silence. The Cyclops staggered backward. The blow disrupted his stance and cancelled the evil eye's control. A brief, perfect moment opened his eye exposed. Suguto screamed the target. Lori Fei understood instantly. Lori Fei's grip tightened around the shovel. Her body moved instinctively, heart steady, timing precise. With all her strength, Lori Fei launched herself forward, focused, determined, a silent force in motion. The Cyclops cursed in rage. A mere girl dared defy the strength of a king. A voice echoed from within the darkness. Suguto's it shattered arrogance and cut into soul. Their eyes locked. The Cyclops saw it true. Primal fear reflecting back through to Suguto's glowing, awakened gaze. She spotted a tiny opening above, gripping tightly, and launched upward with fierce determination. Landing above the monster's chest, she struck its exposed eye with a deadly, precise blow. Below, the boy forced himself onward through pain, struggling to regain strength, despite depleted mana. Sweat dripped down her face as her vision blurred, yet she refused to collapse under pressure. Ignoring pain, she drove the scoop again. Magic drained rapidly, but she pushed forward even harder. She screamed with resolve, channeling magic into the earth, collapsing the ground beneath the monster. A black sphere formed overhead, devouring light and sound, as the force pulled violently downward. The monster's body twisted mid-air, caught in the gravitational pull, spiraling into the crushing void. As silence returned, the boy surfaced, exhausted and dazed, wondering if it was truly over. He spotted Lori Fei paddling slowly, barely afloat, tired but alive, drifting toward him with relief. His arms went numb, the blood loss deepened. Slowly he realized something wasn't right. Sinking quietly, he accepted the stillness, remembering this strange feeling from his death once before. Though the outcome felt certain, he noticed peace this time. His heart wasn't filled with fear. Lori Fei struggled toward him, barely afloat, pushing herself forward, clinging to hope a moment longer. As his consciousness faded, he wished for one thing: more time to adventure with Lori Fei. A system message declared his rise 8 levels gained, and a mysterious power newly awakened. He stood in a glowing void, facing the defeated monster's spirit. Now silently watching. Without speaking, the creature faded into light, leaving only curiosity and tension behind in silence. He approached the vortex cautiously, compelled by curiosity, and peered in as swirling energy flowed outward. Suddenly, he felt a presence beyond the void, something watching, something ancient, something aware. He awoke in a small room surrounded by potions, greeted by an unfamiliar old woman. The old woman, Agatha, insisted he leave. Her stern voice masked quiet concern beneath irritation. He realized his shattered arm had healed. Confused, he questioned how he was still alive. Granny Agatha revealed the truth. Lori Fei saved him with a potion just in time. Looking down, he found her asleep on his chest, breathing softly, refusing to leave him. Though grateful for her loyalty, he struggled to ignore the overwhelming drool soaking his chest. Granny Agatha explained the chaos defeating a cavern boss triggered shock across the Adventurers Guild. Suguto learned they were seen exiting the dungeon, making secrecy about the conquest impossible. His name window revealed the title, Evil Eye Emperor, stunning him with unwanted, dangerous recognition. Meanwhile, Lori Fei's identity surfaced, a debt slave nicknamed Scooper, legally bound to someone named Liesheimer. Suguto laughed in disbelief. Scooper, chosen by the world, sounded absurd and oddly endearing. He smiled gently, accepting the name. If Lori Fei liked it, that was enough. Just watching her sleep eased his thoughts. He'd already decided to journey beside her, no matter what, no matter the hardships ahead. With Lori Fei beside him, he'd dig forward without hesitation. As night fell, they silently promised each other they would become stronger together, no matter what. Suguto reviewed his status, now level 24, armed with rare skills from the Evil Eye. Beside him, Lori Fei's stats revealed surprising growth. Her scoop and instincts formed a potent adventuring foundation. After conquering the magical ore cavern, 2 adventurers returned to Berg, shocking the entire town. Rumors spread. Kids defeated a dungeon boss, revived miraculously, and somehow gained legendary hero titles. The gloomy boy quietly ate beside Lori Fei, a snow-white girl with a mysterious presence. Suguto tried speaking, but Lori Fei ignored him completely, focused only on chewing her food. When addressed formally, Lori Fei finally responded, proudly embracing her ridiculous title as the cheerful Scooper. Lori Fei secretly transferred all the meat to Suguto's plate, happily keeping only vegetables. While they ate, Suguto asked Granny to explain more about their mysterious inherited titles. Granny revealed, powerful titles could be stolen by killing the current owner, called inheritance. Though possible, the success rate was low, making assassination a risky path for thieves. Still, as weak adventurers, Suguto and Lori Fei could easily become tempting, vulnerable targets. Suguto vowed vengeance against anyone targeting them, determined to make attackers regret their choices. Despite her fragile appearance, Lori Fei showed no wounds, baffling everyone who doubted her strength. Granny warned them seriously, calling Suguto immature and urging them both to survive together. Lori Fei declared Suguto her partner, promising Granny they'd return safely, no matter the danger. Short on money, they prepared to re-enter the dungeon, hoping to mine magical ores. Suguto's vision suddenly blurred, despite his healed status and no apparent reason for weakness. Lori Fei silently pulled Suguto through a busy market street, weaving between chatting townsfolk and merchants. They explored the marketplace carefully, Lori Fei sticking close, while Suguto scanned the surroundings for danger. Lori Fei stopped, captivated by glistening candied fruit, unable to look away from the shimmering treats. Suguto resisted buying snacks, reminding himself they were broke and just finished eating at Granny's. Lori Fei rushed to the stand, as Suguto gave in, and asked her preference. She happily ate the candied fruit, calling it heavenly over and over with joy. Despite enjoying it, Lori Fei wasn't allowed to freely buy anything due to her status. The Liesheimer company controlled mining, trade, and slavery, essentially ruling the entire town of Berg. While drawing water, Suguto noticed Lori Fei mention her debt, hinting at her troubled situation. Suguto spotted suspicious, tagless men standing before Lori Fei, then saw her being abducted. Without hesitation, Suguto lunged at the kidnappers, catching one off guard with a powerful strike. As he gave chase, his vision warped again, distorting reality and slowing his pursuit. He shouted Lori Fei's name, overwhelmed with panic, as the kidnappers vanished into the distance. Lori Fei, half conscious and limp in their arms, blinked slowly, barely aware of what happened. Lori Fei asked to be released, but the man ignored her and carried her away. Frustrated, the kidnapper spanked her repeatedly, shouting at her to stop resisting his grip. Suddenly, Luri Fei retaliated, landing a powerful punch that sent shockwaves through the man's ribs. She rolled away from the group, leaving one of the attackers groaning on the ground. The others panicked, shouting threats, while Luri Fei stood firm, fists clenched and eyes locked forward. Luri Fei defeated all her attackers effortlessly, standing tall and victorious with a sparkling level indicator. She casually walked off, ignoring their cries, heading back to Suguto with one hilarious remark. The kidnappers realized too late her strength defied her looks, a title bearer beyond their understanding. Her aura exuded death, defying pressure, forged from surviving countless near-death encounters they couldn't comprehend. Terrified, the men begged forgiveness, now fully understanding the terrifying power of a true title bearer. Begging on their knees, the kidnappers asked Luri Fei to lend them her unmatched strength. Pleased by their praise, Luri Fei accepted the request, calling herself their madam with confidence. Meanwhile, Suguto kept running, struggling to manage his warped vision and track Luri Fei's trail. He realized time was short and headed for the Adventurers Guild to report kidnapping. As reward, he offered his rare artifact, the steel knife of the expert +1. A carriage suddenly stormed through the street, catching Suguto's attention with its loud arrival. An older man emerged, respectfully introducing himself and apologizing for the sudden interruption. He was Fried, a merchant of Liesheimer, bringing orders directly from his powerful master. Suguto realized Liesheimer owned Luri Fei and regretted not seeking their help from the start. Now aware of her importance, Suguto deduced Liesheimer was actively retrieving their titled property. Suguto pleaded for help, as Fried revealed his orders were to retrieve them both. They arrived at the massive Liesheimer company headquarters, an intimidating palace unlike anything Suguto expected. Traffic bustled at the company gates as staff quickly escorted Suguto deeper into the building. A servant informed him Liesheimer was available, but warned him seriously before proceeding inside. Fried advised Suguto to brace himself, hinting that meeting Liesheimer wouldn't be easy. Fried announced Suguto's arrival to Liesheimer, who waited behind, imposing double doors. Suguto entered, shocked by the presence of a regal, radiant woman beyond all expectation. But behind her beauty, he sensed something monstrous, an abominable creature cloaked in elegant illusion. Despite her divine appearance, Suguto's perception twisted. He inexplicably found her horrifying and grotesque. Liesheimer greeted Suguto knowingly, calling him Evil Eye Emperor, and dismissed formal introductions entirely. Liesheimer offered Suguto a direct proposition: become her subordinate and serve under her command. Suguto rejected instantly, declaring firmly he would never serve as anyone's subordinate, not ever. He remained resolute, refusing to yield, fearing he'd fall into Liesheimer's manipulative influence like Luri Fei. Fried explained. They prioritized Suguto's safety over retrieving Luri Fei, which caught Liesheimer's cold attention. Liesheimer proposed a deal: help recover Luri Fei, but forfeit all of her property. Suguto realizes Luri Fei carries 2 artifacts, and Liesheimer clearly intends to confiscate their belongings. He calmly accepts the proposal, but demands that his personal artifacts be excluded from seizure. Liesheimer is amused by Suguto's confidence, impressed by his boldness, despite their power imbalance. They agree to cooperate equally. Suguto retrieves the slave. Liesheimer retrieves her stolen artifacts. Suguto senses danger in trusting her. Though they allied, he believes her motives are hidden. The woman questions Suguto's intent, suspecting he may free Luri from her shackles. She reveals Luri Fei was sold by her father, claiming no one would ever seek her. Smiling coldly, she insists freedom brings isolation. Luri Fei would be better employed and raised here. Suguto hesitates, reflecting on Luri Fei's will, recalling her quiet dream to live as an adventurer. Luri Fei declares her resolve to grow stronger. Suguto fiercely defends her determination to survive freely. The noblewoman entrusts Fried with the mission to rescue the slave without hesitation or question. Outside, Suguto breaks down, overwhelmed by fear, confusion, and the pressure of choices before him. Inside, the maid wonders aloud what exactly had frightened Suguto so deeply in that room. From the window, the noblewoman speculates Suguto saw something forbidden, perhaps even something beyond mortal comprehension. Luri Fei, called the Scooper, confidently follows the men, unaware she's being led into danger. The men pretend to guide her kindly, suggesting she enter a specific room without suspicion. Unaware of the trap, Luri Fei is introduced as Scooper, a title signifying rare, powerful recognition. As soon as she enters, the men lock the door. She's imprisoned in a hidden cell. The men laugh outside, revealing it's their secret slum jail, perfect for temporary illegal detentions. The men mock her powers, confident a child could never escape the locked cell. Alone in the cell, Luri Fei clenches her shovel tightly, determined to break out herself. Elsewhere, others sense the disturbance, confused by the sounds of impact echoing from underground. A wounded man comforts crying children, while distant rumblings cause Luri Fei's eyes to sharpen. Her shovel pierces the door's metal, carving through the barrier with force and precision. Luri finds joy in her strength, likening her shovel's ease to scooping potatoes. In only 3 minutes, she tears through the cell wall, proudly marching into freedom. A child prisoner opens her eyes wide in shock, seeing something unexpected outside the bars. Luri Fei stands calmly. The captives pile up, trying to peek past the cracked jail wall. The girl describes something white and fluffy. Luri Fei questions if it's more than just a cat. The guards panic when they see Luri Fei free, stunned by the perfectly carved escape hole. Onlookers can't believe the powerful figure is just a child. Her presence defies all logic. Lanza assesses her strength, realizing it surpasses her mana level, a mysterious title's power. Luri Fei's eyes widen in shock as a sudden magical threat forms right before her. Lanza activates his spell, Lightning Thread, revealing his true strength as tension begins to escalate sharply. Luri Fei braces against the blast, crouching low as smoke and dust settle around her. Lanza acknowledges her experience, praising her calmness despite being just a child in battle. She recalls advice to stay ready, gripping her shovel tightly as the word bog echoes. Lanza unleashes lightning spears. Luri Fei reacts too slowly, caught in magical electricity surging through the floor, fallen and unconscious. Luri Fei is surrounded by laughing guards as Lanza orders her tied up. The captors decide to restrain Luri Fei tightly, planning to transport her after removing her tag. Their deal falls apart, but they're unconcerned, confident they can sell others without much effort. Lanza smirks coldly, declaring Luri Fei their gift. While she lies unconscious under his grasp, the children huddle in fear, realizing Luri Fei will be forced into slavery like they were. Investigators arrive in the slums, suspecting Luri Fei's captors would use it as a place to hide. They discuss inheritance, revealing that murdering a title holder could pass their power to another. Fortunately, taking titles isn't easy. Several hidden conditions make it difficult to inherit special powers. To steal Luri Fei's Scooper title, one would need a related skill, which is extremely rare. Even Luri Fei herself may not understand her power. Only one person witnessed it directly. With limited time, they plan to locate her, fast believing they have 1 day left. Thugs surround them, mocking the old man's lone bodyguard, unaware of Suguto's deadly hidden title. Before they finish mocking, Freed swiftly disables an attacker with a lightning-fast bone-shattering counterstrike. The crowd panics, disbelief spreads as they witness overwhelming strength from the calm-suited gentleman. Freed apologizes coolly, revealing his combat prowess. His mana usage contradicts his job as merchant. Suguto reflects that job titles are misleading. Freed and Liesheimer both proved their power secretly. The thugs rally together, enraged, shouting to overwhelm Suguto and Freed with sheer numbers. Suguto counters a surprise attack with precision, crushing the thug's leg before retaliation can begin. He dodges another strike and disables his opponent cleanly, keeping the fight tightly under control. Striking their legs only, Suguto avoids killing crippling enemies to win without unnecessary bloodshed. With all enemies downed, Freed straightens his coat, suggesting a calm conversation after the chaos. Freed questions the thugs about a kidnapped Pecoran girl. Suguto notes he hasn't used powers. Locals speculate about suspicious groups, unsure which faction might have kidnapped a girl with 4 men. A witness recalls a confident Pecoran girl leading men, not being dragged like a prisoner. They investigate the location, finding fresh tracks outside, but the interior appears completely abandoned. Suguto questions a nearby villager about who entered the building, hoping for a fresh lead. A villager reports 5 men and 4 kids recently left. Suguto and Freed take notice. The informant claims the children were tagless underground slaves, taken in a luxurious, silent wagon. Freed explains debt slavery, children abducted and legitimized as slaves by merchant guild corruption. The informant reveals their destination, Rosalie, giving Freed and Suguto a solid lead on Luri Fei's location. Freed connects the Myriad Company to the trafficking ring, implicating them in the slave operations. In Rosalie's northern wasteland, guards confirm their targets have arrived just as intel predicted. The approaching figure alarms the soldiers. Something about her presence fills them with dread. Red names are tagged killers, targets of suppression, marked as monsters after murdering another tagged person. Beloved dragon child Safina, a title bearing red name, walks forward with deadly, graceful authority. Safina confronts the men confidently. Her cold gaze warns them not to block her path. Inside the moving wagon, the boy discovers the unconscious, bound Pecoran girl lying inside. Elsewhere, Safina interrogates a wounded guard violently, demanding answers with no patience for resistance. She declares her mission eliminating slave dealers and freeing every hidden underground slave she can. 2 wagons traveled north from Berg, transporting unknown cargo toward the bustling trade city Rosalie. 1 wagon neared the city. Inside, a beast-eared boy watched the landscape silently pass by. A horned girl, tightly bound with rope, slept soundly in the wagon's wooden storage compartment. The girl, now freed, quietly sat beside the boy on a bridge over the canal. Unbeknownst to others, the girl belonged to the feared group called the 3 Crimson Evils. Red names usually hide their identity, but Crimson Evils boldly live among humans without fear. Despite being hunted, they continue fearlessly, enduring injuries while refusing to retreat or hide themselves. A full 30-man elite squad was wiped out. The commander launched a final desperate attack. A powerful spell hardened his body while he restrained the girl and ordered a finishing strike. Before the sword could land, the girl bit it mid-air, halting the blow completely. The warrior's sword was a powerful artifact, enhanced with fencing techniques and a deadly spell. Despite the overwhelming attack, the girl effortlessly countered, wounding 1 man and immobilizing both instantly. To their horror, she began chewing the man's flesh calmly. Without urgency or emotion, after swallowing, she stood confidently, licking her fingers, satisfied by the taste of blood. She then attacked the last man directly, smashing through his defenses with monstrous strength and speed. With a blood-soaked hand, Safina declared it was time to feast on her victim. Crimson Evils like her never run or hide, because no one can challenge them. Among corpses, Safina reflected on her failure, forgetting the target's location while pursuing underground slavers. She identified herself. Beloved dragon child Safina, a rank adventurer, infamous for eating the one she captured. At Myriad Company headquarters in Rosalie, powerful officials discussed her actions and their troubling implications. Myriad, an A-rank merchant, angrily questioned Lanza's return without completing the slave transaction. Servants whispered the 2 men shared childhood ties from the slums, explaining their informal tone. Lesheimer demanded the price be halved. The sudden drop shocked Myriad during their discussion. Suspicions turned toward a mysterious elf woman, whose involvement hinted at a hidden larger plan. Lanza downplayed concerns, hinting he brought something more valuable than slaves, a special souvenir from the trip. Lanza revealed the souvenir was intel about a child who conquered a dungeon in Berg. The child's name was Scooper Luri Fei, a Pecoran girl now resting unknowingly in captivity. The beast-eared boy noticed his younger siblings playing with Luri Fei, oblivious to her condition. The children enjoyed hugging Luri Fei's fluffy body, unaware she was a tied-up, unconscious slave, assigned to watch over the human children. The boy wondered if Luri Fei was included too. Luri Fei awoke confused, still bound, as children excitedly mistook her for a white caterpillar. Suddenly, her restraints vanished by magic, startling the beastkin boy and raising everyone's suspicion. Bayou explained their location, introduced the children, and revealed their captivity by the Myriad Company. Luri found a torn shirt, recognizing it as Tuguto's, raising concern about his condition. Bayou sniffed the fabric, confirming with his Canadian senses that Suguto had never been there. Bayou gently asked if Suguto was important. Luri Fei stayed silent, holding his shirt tightly. She nodded while hugging the shirt. Bayou quietly shared that he also had someone precious. He remembered his home village, now 100 days behind, likely worried sick over his disappearance. He thought of Kyle and Vita's parents, who must be suffering even more deeply. Determined, Bayu promised to be strong, even risking himself to give everyone a chance to escape. Luri Fei summoned her shovel from an item box, surprising Bayu with her sudden preparedness. She proudly introduced herself as Luri Fei, a super scooper, wielding her trusted X-scooper weapon. Elsewhere, Myriad questioned how a 9-year-old could possess a mysterious and unheard-of title, scooper. The nobles speculated about Scoop Art's inheritance, suspecting it required power and would be difficult. Myriad rejected the idea of inheriting the title himself, having no interest in such roles. Asked about his retirement, the man confirmed he'd given up being an adventurer by choice. Tensions rose as word spread that Rozalik faced danger, regardless of how Luri Fei was handled. Rumors confirmed Safina, the beloved dragon child, was approaching, feared as a cannibal and unstoppable force. The men debated her true intent, unsure whether to fear her or offer her tea. Suddenly, the room trembled violently, interrupting their discussion as something unknown began shaking the entire building. Everyone froze in shock as the tremor intensified, echoing throughout both noble halls and underground rooms. The tremor was confirmed as an explosion, sending fear across the entire building's first floor. The nobles debated its source, suspecting the worst: either the Pekaran girl or Safina had acted. With grim realization, one noble sarcastically admitted Safina wouldn't be coming to drink tea anymore. Elsewhere, Suguto and his companion arrived outside the gates, stunned by the destruction before them. The two arrived at the Myriad Company's headquarters, shocked by the eerie silence surrounding it. The grand building had split in half, rubble and blood scattered across the devastated front courtyard. Suguto confirmed it was Luri Fei's base, wondering what could have caused such catastrophic destruction here. They began investigating the site, starting with corpses crushed under rubble, searching for any surviving clues. Amid pain and confusion, Suguto collapsed, then heard Luri Fei's weak voice, calling out to him. Suguto blamed himself for Luri Fei's suffering again, when a sudden explosion burst from the building. A cloaked man crawled from the wreckage, coughing violently, barely alive. After the building collapsed, they identified the survivor as Lanza, a Myriad Company merchant injured during the violent event. Lanza mocked them, recognizing two Suguto, and assuming they came to rescue the one called Scooper. Suguto confronted Lanza angrily, but the merchant pleaded to negotiate in exchange for useful information. Enraged, Suguto delivered a fierce kick to Lanza, refusing to entertain vague negotiations further. He demanded Luri Fei's location, ignoring Lanza's plea to stop and resolve matters through peaceful conversation. Without hesitation, Suguto launched another blow, shouting furiously for answers about Luri Fei's whereabouts and condition. Lanza, bruised but composed, acknowledged Suguto's defiance, realizing he was dealing with someone equally unyielding. Suguto prepared to activate his cursed power, the accursed evil eye, to end the standoff decisively. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupted nearby, shocking everyone and interrupting the tense confrontation. Instantly, a bloodied figure crawled forward, declaring Lanza was useless. He knew nothing about the real threat. A mysterious woman appeared, bloodied and calm, asking coldly, "Where is Myriad?" While approaching confidently, Suguto's eyes widened as darkness swallowed his vision, and a strange system message confirmed gained experience. His evil eye skill advanced mid-battle, distorting perception, forcing him to retreat as clarity slowly returned. Suguto's truthful evil eye activated again, distorting his vision and confirming the warp scene was real. A massive dragon illusion appeared behind Safina, an A-rank adventurer, known as the beloved dragon child. A motherly figure warns the girl to never eat anything else, shaping her discipline. She disobeys instinct, causing horror. People recoil, calling her a monster for harming a child. Confused and hurt, she questions their hatred, unable to understand their fearful, judgmental stares. In panic and pain, she lashes out, sending destruction through the building around her. Surrounded and bleeding, she faces condemnation, while more enemies arrive to stop her violently. Suguto stands frozen as a colossal coiling entity emerges visible only to his cursed sight. His truthful evil eye awakens, automatically evolving to level 2, without his conscious command. Realization dawns: his distorted vision wasn't illness, but a passive magical skill revealing hidden truths. By flooding mana into his eyes earlier, he accidentally enhanced his accursed evil eye. Now focused, he reactivates truthful evil eye manually, to fully decipher the warped magical scene. Suguto finds himself suspended mid-air, overwhelmed by a sudden shift in the surrounding reality. A reflective surface ripples below. He realizes he's standing on something resembling glowing, fluid water. The world appears submerged in an invisible, abstract liquid clearer and purer than actual water. He notices red mist emanating from Freed, identifying it as mana reacting within the medium. A gray mist trails another figure, an overwhelming presence, prompting the elder's urgent call to retreat. Suguto watches the mist swirl. Freed's mana stains the atmosphere, with a rising red fog. A gray mist surrounds an approaching figure. The elder urges retreat, fearing an overwhelming power. A massive black dragon coils underwater, its overwhelming presence confirmed by Suguto's terrified gaze. Realization strikes. He was inside her mana storm. Her aura vastly exceeds his current level. She's identified as Safina, a powerful half-dragon adventurer, aged 17, already reaching level 56. Suguto activates his eye skill, stunned to see Safina's full status, with magical clarity. Safina lunges, grabbing the man by the throat, demanding answers with intense, overwhelming pressure. She interrogates him, asking for Myriad's whereabouts. The man resists, clearly afraid of her. He speaks bitterly, releasing gray mana. Suguto realizes this foe is far from ordinary. Safina recoils slightly, sensing danger. He's one of the feared 3 great crimson evils. The enemy escapes using a spell called Lightning Evasion, vanishing in a blinding surge. Safina lands calmly. Suguto realizes the escape spell embedded deep, layered with complex incantation. She explains lightning evasion isn't teleportation, but lightning speed movement. His full retreat is now confirmed. Amid ruined buildings, investigators assume Safina is responsible and label her an enemy force. Suguto stares at the aftermath, questioning whether everyone defeated here was truly evil. Only the Myriad Company's upper ranks knew of its crimes. Most workers remained unaware of atrocities. The elder warns Suguto, Safina belongs to the feared 3 great crimson evils. Suguto reflects he can't beat Safina, but his concern is for Luri Fei's fate. Suddenly, cries echo. Someone emerges injured from the ruins, catching their immediate attention. A servant girl named Misha, wounded and afraid, pleads for help. Safina charges toward her. Despite warnings, Suguto charges toward Safina, weapon drawn, determined to protect the injured servant. Safina effortlessly counters the attack, her strength and speed overwhelming his desperate, emotional charge. The elder watches in frustration, recalling Suguto's desire to protect Luri Fei and stop cruelty. Facing Safina, Suguto declares his stance: he won't allow the powerful to trample the weak. Meanwhile, deep underground, an explosion reveals the Myriad Company's hidden slave chamber, proof of dark secrets. A nearby group hears the explosion, panic spreads, but a confident voice promises their safety. One girl raises a shovel confidently, others doubt she can dig through solid walls. With cartoonish force, she punches a clean hole through brick. Everyone is left in awe. As she charges ahead, another tries to stop her, causing a flustered, awkward stumble. She reassures them all, confident she'll defeat their enemies if found, even after past failure. With quiet determination, she promises not to lose again next time. She'll win for sure. Though Kananans adapt quickly, even he struggles to accept their irrational, chaotic situation unfolding. Driven by urgency, he points to another wall, demanding she dig their way through. Unbothered, she effortlessly punches through again, calling the task a total piece of cake. Inside the equipment room, she explains her knowledge learned through constant eavesdropping during her captivity. He finds their stolen status tags, relieved to reclaim proof of identity and freedom. Her tag is missing, but he shifts focus to arming everyone before enemies arrive. Despite never wielding a weapon, he is thrilled though. His tale reveals how excited he truly is. He chooses a longsword. She insists the shovel is superior. It is her trusted weapon of choice. Ready to escape, he struggles to unsheath his sword, drawing concern and teasing from the kids. He recalls countless chores for the company: cleaning, extermination, and tasks no one else wanted. That experience proves useful now. He navigates the building like it's his own backyard. They reach the company's rear exit. He quietly signals the others to follow his lead. A carriage waits nearby. He tells them to board, while he fetches a horse. But inside the carriage, a mysterious figure awaits, clearly expecting uninvited and troublesome guests. Myriad, an A-rank merchant, suggests escape. Children hide. tension rising inside the wagon's walls. Outside Myriad Company's headquarters, Suguto warns the children to flee as danger looms ahead. A mysterious woman appears from the ruins. Suguto confronts her, demanding Lori Fei's whereabouts immediately. She coldly denies knowing Lori Fei, shows no remorse for victims, indifferent to the lives lost. Katsuguto glares at her intensely. She halts, recognizing something terrifying hidden within his eyes. She suddenly steps close, locking eyes with Suguto, unleashing overwhelming pressure in silence. Though it looked like a kiss, her intention was far from romantic or affectionate. He sees not a woman, but a dragon monstrous, ancient, paralyzing his every instinct. Fury overrides fear. Suguto screams, swearing vengeance, if Lori Fei has suffered because of her. Behind her back, hatred pulses, rejecting humanity, radiating panic, revealing eyes no longer capable of empathy. Suguto charges forward, activating critical eye and maximum concentration, attacking with speed and deadly focus. Despite seeing her movements, his body lags behind, unable to match her overwhelming speed. The woman releases a massive destructive blast, glaring with hatred at Suguto's cursed eyes. A bystander gasps as the impact erupts violently, the explosion echoing through the city streets. Back inside, Lori Fei and Myriad casually observe the chaos, unfazed by the explosion's intensity. A guard urges his master to stay hidden, sensing the looming threat outside the wagon. The Bellamy's brothers, imposing bodyguards, approach confidently as the group anxiously watches their arrival. Lori Fei apologizes, recognizing the misunderstanding, while warning everyone of a greater threat approaching rapidly. With unity in mind, Myriad invites everyone aboard to escape the encroaching danger together. Far away, an older man silently observes the situation unfold, concern quietly etched across his face. Suguto lies wounded in the rubble, blasted through the wall, barely conscious after the devastating attack. A massive tremor shook the streets. Lori Fei and Suguto froze, sensing something collapsing nearby. An old man emerged from the dust, silently observing the destruction with calm, unreadable eyes. From the broken wall, Suguto staggered out, wounded and bleeding, collapsing near a shattered column. A mysterious man approached, commanding Lori Fei to board, offering help amidst the city's growing chaos. Agreeing to unite, Lori Fei led survivors towards safety, recognizing elite guards sent by Myriad Company. Tension rose as Lori Fei blocked the knight's attack. Unwilling to let her guard drop, the man warned his subordinate, recognizing Lori Fei's power and insisting no harm be done. He explained the looming danger, urging cooperation and asking to be heard inside. Suguto appealed to reason, pointing at the children and urging peace over reckless battle. Lori Fei questioned the group's unity, eyes searching their faces to confirm no one's left behind. Lori Fei hesitated, but the man's calm promise of safety slowly softened her cautious stance. As he welcomed them aboard, Suguto questioned where this supposed escape would truly lead. Their destination lay southward in Area Scooper. Dono once knew well, holding significance to their mission. Suddenly, the air sparked violently as a strange energy pulse warped space in the street. From the electric surge, a caped man appeared, his arrival shifting the atmosphere with tension. The cloaked man clenched his jaw, planting his foot firmly as tension surged through him. He muttered frustration, preparing a potion before activating the magic he deeply disliked using. Through lightning evasion, his body turned to electrons, traveling across preset magical lightning paths. The technique damaged him, but gave time to escape the feared three great crimson evils. Kneeling, wounded and breathing heavily, he admitted disbelief at risking everything in this confrontation. Despite doubts, he rejected the holy road and chose a secret southern rendezvous instead. Realizing Rosalique was defenseless, he acknowledged the guild's failure and the town's eerie emptiness. With heavy steps, he pressed forward, muttering about unfinished duties only he could handle. Meanwhile, a weakened man regained consciousness as scattered survivors quietly stirred across the floor. The older gentleman leaned in gently, offering comfort and news that they were momentarily safe. Confused and stunned, the young man remembered being struck then, noticed the hole in reality. Despite no injuries, he felt strange tightness, recalling she thought he died and vanished. The old man confirmed his survival was miraculous, thanks to a potion and hidden defensive skill. While reflecting, he noticed endurance and other traits increasing, skills leveling without him realizing it. He recalled perceiving her attack using critical eye and extended reaction time with maximum concentration. Though he sensed danger, endurance alone let him survive what should have been fatal impact. The elder explained the knockback saved him, though barely and only due to that skill. A familiar maid approached, relieved, revealing she'd been praying for his survival since earlier. She tearfully expressed her gratitude, believing his survival spared everyone in the building, despite the miracle. She warned him the company was corrupt and not worth loyalty. Faithy children were missing. Officials invited the investigator to inspect the aftermath of the attack. They entered the devastated chamber, surrounded by corpses and rubble left from the deadly chaos. All victims were myriad company members. No slaves found, indicating Safina's actions were strangely deliberate. Confused, the survivor learned Safina had taken a guild quest despite her criminal red name. Flashback revealed Galatas, guild master of Rosalik, had dealt with Safina before the attack. Tension filled the guild as Safina's presence shocked members and commanders with bitter memories. Guild Master Galatas offered his life, desperate to protect townspeople from potential devastation. Safina coldly declined, claiming she had no appetite, sparking dread in Galatas's eyes. Calmly, she handed over proof of her sanctioned quest to eliminate underground slave traders. Galatas realized her red name masked a mission aligned with justice, shocking everyone present. Safina entered the guild bath, unarmed and calm, while guards watched her every move. Despite her vulnerability, the guildmaster ordered continued surveillance and requested contact with Berg. Slave records revealed 3 missing children, Bayou, Kyle, and Vida, lost during the chaotic breakout. Leaders confirmed some slaves escaped, but her actions seemed purposeful, not wanton destruction. Suguto questioned if Luri Fei, classified as a slave, fled alongside the missing children. Luri Fei's status as a debt slave excluded her from Safina's quest target definition. They questioned nearby adventurers for leads, but one scout claimed his duty was finished. Hatsuguto asked about the children. The scout warned Safina evades detection even by elites. Her detection abilities resembled advanced sensory magic, identifying pursuers through sight and sound alone. The scout admitted he never actually saw her, only listened from afar while terrified. The scout confirmed no group of children passed by, especially not 4 together. They speculated the children might have escaped via coach, though the grounds seemed fully searched. A coach had indeed left earlier. Scouts were already tailing it for destination confirmation. If Luri Fei escaped with Myriad, the situation was more dangerous than they anticipated. Suguto decided to investigate another lead, while others waited for the scouts' return. Arriving at the ruined Myriad building, Suguto noticed gray mana lingering after lightning use. He followed the mana trail, spotting a strange ditch with something hidden inside. A metal pipe extended underground. Suguto questioned the maid about its unusual structure and purpose. She explained it linked to Rosalik sewers, ideal for conducting lightning. Like a magical conduit, the path stretched into town, revealing a planned escape route tied to lightning evasion magic. Suguto traced the holy road, following mana trails left by the coach's sudden departure. He confirmed the presence of faint gray mana, evidence Myriad used lightning magic to escape. Myriad's right-hand man likely fled south. Suguto deduced both he and Luri Fei went together. The trail led Suguto farther south, where Luri Fei was calmly eating, unaware of pursuit. At Lesheimer Company in Rosalik, a message from the Adventurer Guild Master finally arrived. The maid delivered an urgent message. The elf noble paused her tea and turned solemn. She pondered the reason. A powerful man's interest in a lowly merchant seemed suspicious. The elf proposed aiding the Dragon Child's mission, manipulating leaders with charm and veiled intentions. Meanwhile, the Adventurers Guild bustled in mineral capital Berg, unaware of the growing threat nearby. Inside, overwhelmed receptionists scrambled to process reports, pressured by delays and lack of field updates. A revelation surfaced: 2 unknowns conquered a dungeon, earning titles 1, just a slave and teenager. Despite doubts and orders, the staff resumed work, suppressing concern over orders they didn't support. A cloaked man rushed through the guild hall, brushing past people, clearly on a mission. He demanded to see the guildmaster immediately, claiming his request was extremely urgent. Identifying himself as Lanza, a merchant, he offered funding to subjugate Serafina, a crimson evil. The receptionist hesitated, revealing an active emergency quest already prioritized by the guild. Lanza challenged the delay, pressing her for a decision, demanding immediate action despite protocol. Guild adventurers surrounded Lanza with drawn weapons, treating his urgent request as a potential threat. The receptionist declared his arrest. Myriad Company was now officially hunted under Berg Resoric Federation's orders. Shocked, Lanza protested the guild's actions, denying involvement in illegal activities or justifying harsh punishment. He accused the guild of negligence, claiming black market slaves thrived because tags weren't enforced. Doubt crept in. Lanza recalled witnessing such slaves, realizing betrayal might have come from within Myriad. A new high-priority quest appeared targeting black market slave rings open only to rank adventurers. A mysterious figure emerged in memory, hinting at manipulation behind recent political and guild shifts. The three Crimson Evils resurfaced as central enemies. Hidden truths about past sacrifices now made sense. Lanza accused them of cowardice, exposing the order, surrender to Crimson Evils across all fronts. Furious and desperate, Lanza attacked but was quickly tackled down, his resistance crushed before it began. Still injured, Lanza regretted not restocking potions. The effects of lightning evasion lingered painfully. An enemy mocked him only a merchant until Lanza cast Curtain Wall of Thunder without hesitation. A massive lightning barrier surged up, cutting off the guild hall and stunning everyone nearby. Chaos erupted as Lanza leapt through the storm, evading capture while warriors watched in shock. Activating body strength channeling, Lanza blitzed forward, unleashing raw power to break through enemy lines. Lanza burst through the guild window, escaping pursuit as soldiers yelled for men to follow. Meanwhile, another official sighed. Another quest appeared in order to capture the entire Myriad Company. Irritated by late visitors, the woman noticed someone outside, ignoring the clearly posted closed sign. She snapped at the door, shouting in anger, frustrated by the endless banging during off-hours. Lanza collapsed inside, bloodied and breathless, weakly begging for potions, his identity now fully revealed. In mineral capital Berg's outer town, streets fell eerily silent as tension cloaked the area. Inside a carriage, passengers sensed unease. Locals vanished, likely warned about a Crimson Evil presence. Panic erupted when horses screeched. Even the children on board were jolted by the sudden stop. Chaos inside followed. A passenger yelled in frustration, thrown from his seat onto a pile of companions. Armed guards confronted them immediately, blades drawn, coldly ordering everyone to leave the carriage at once. Soldiers encircled the group, blades drawn. Their leader identified the man undoubtedly from the Myriad Company. He confronted the adventurers, accusing them of thuggery while they insisted on following guild orders. When questioned about the Crimson Evil, he feigned ignorance, subtly provoking with calculated, playful misdirection. Realization struck, he'd read their expressions instantly. He mentioned the beloved dragon child's rank status. Calmly seated, he asked a chilling question: how much they were paid to betray justice. Calmly seated, he accused them of cowardice, offering him as sacrifice to avoid real danger. With a confident smile, he made an offer: his counter, a reward 100-fold greater. He declared he'd restore their pride, offering riches beyond reason to buy back their dignity. His tone sharpened. He'd pay up front and fight on his own terms, without begging for life. Lanza promised each follower 1,000,000 lark, outbidding the guild's reward with staggering personal wealth. The adventurers were stunned by Lanza's offer, an impossible sum promised to every single mercenary. Lanza leaned forward, eyes sharp, declaring his authority not through strength, but sheer financial and psychological pressure. His bold challenge forced every adventurer to reflect. None could deny he struck their hidden shame. As their silence deepened, Lanza claimed control of the moment, shifting power without drawing his blade. Sitting tall before dozens, he commanded submission, his words now stronger than the adventurers' drawn swords. Digital currency, stored in a personal status tag, allowed instant and secure monetary transfers between users. Lanza accessed his tag, instantly revealing assets over 10 million lark, triggering awe among the crowd. After paying all 23 adventurers, their excitement confirmed the transfer was real and unquestionable. The last in line, a small girl with horns, bowed quietly, waiting for her turn. Entranced by the payout, the girl nodded firmly, silently offering herself as Lanza's newest recruit. Lanza learned she was a slave, ineligible for payment due to restrictions on digital currency. He confirmed her owner was Lesheimer, claiming he had personal connections to resolve her status. When asked about currency, she revealed her item box, surprisingly filled with candy and coins. Lanza revealed a wrist device, dropping physical gold coins directly into her stunned hands. With 4 massive coins in hand, she quietly joined his ranks, now officially employed. The boy declared he'd fight too, hoping to earn freedom for himself and his friends. Despite rejection, the boy lunged forward, desperate to prove his worth and change his fate. He realized escaping wouldn't erase debt. One victory could free them. He had to try. Sitting calmly, the merchant analyzed the boy's desperation, unimpressed by emotion, demanding reason over passion. The merchant questioned the boy's value, challenging his ability to earn the million-lark reward. Scooper plays with 2 children. Her joyful expression contrasts the tense atmosphere between the others nearby. The wolf boy stares ahead with resolve, declaring confidently that he can fight without hesitation. Acknowledging the boy's determination, the merchant accepts the agreement by linking their status tags together. The mineral capital, Berg, thrived on magic ore, split between affluent outer and inner towns. As fear from the crimson evils spread, the bustling outer town became eerily silent, except one. Bayou stood firm, demanding freedom for himself, Vida, and Kyle, young slaves bound by debt. A scarred man promised freedom after the battle, hinting their fate depended on victory alone. Despite their wealth in digital currency, only their owner could unlock their chained futures. Bayou received physical coins and a certificate, though he insisted freedom meant more than shopping. Their master planned to recruit elite fighters at Berg's Adventurers Guild, despite everyone's clear objections. Unfortunately, Berg's strongest adventurers were already deep inside the dangerous and occupied mineral dungeon. A calm voice revealed shocking news: the entire mineral dungeon had been cleared by one kid. With coins in hand, the sheep-horned girl confidently knocked on a closed produce store's door. The mineral dungeon began mutating, creating unknown dangers as its structure and monsters evolved drastically. A new floor called Treasure Mountain appeared beneath the garbage hole, filled with untouched artifacts. That's why all top adventurers were sent far away, leaving Berg vulnerable to new threats. At Rot's produce store, the merchant locked up tightly, aware of rising danger outside, despite others fleeing. Rot refused to abandon the store he spent decades building and protecting. Rot heard knocking again, confused and cautious, unaware someone small and serious waited outside. A young horned girl named Lurife appeared, quiet yet purposeful, holding her buyer's credentials. Without hesitation, Lurife requested vegetables, surprising Rot with her title and composed determination. Rot hesitated to sell to slaves until Lurife flashed large coins, silencing his doubt instantly. With new kids in tow, Lurife preached vegetables' value, baffling everyone with her sudden authority. Lurife gently insisted vegetables make children grow healthy, stunning everyone with her calm, wise tone. Joy spread as the children danced. Bayou agreed to buy vegetables, surprising even the shopkeeper. As produce was shared freely, Rot recognized Myriad's seal, questioning who these mysterious kids were. The children enjoyed peace and vegetables, unaware that something dark was already set into motion. Doubt filled the merchant. Meanwhile, a sharp sound above alerted them something was falling fast. A mangled soldier's body crashed violently from the sky, horrifying the onlookers below. His adventurer's tag clattered to the ground, shattered, blood-stained, and eerily silent. Identified as Katsi, a strong C-rank adventurer, he had just accepted a dangerous guild quest. He'd been launched skyward by someone powerful, then landed here, lifeless and unrecognizably broken. A terrifying force, an incarnation of death, was now advancing directly toward the town. Myriad rallies the group with staged confidence, masking the fear spreading from the fallen adventurer's corpse. A seasoned warrior urges retreat, not from cowardice, but to preserve lives and reassess their strategy. The camera shifts to the mineral dungeon. Immense spires pierce the sky like ancient stone guardians. Despite his fragile appearance and low level, Myriad's aura radiates discipline and innate warrior's presence. In this world, one's path mirrors game roles. Each adventurer seeks strength through their chosen class. In contrast to others, Myriad believed merchants were strongest power flowed from wealth, not weapons. In Berg's bustling main district, a carriage rushes through narrow streets, escorted by guards. An armored figure leaps toward the moving carriage, startling the guards with unexpected urgency. Lanza joins the group mid-motion, commenting casually, despite the tension and approaching catastrophe. While scolded for being late, Lanza insists he actually arrived in Berg, ahead of them. Inside a luxurious chamber, an old woman dismissed guild rules, revealing herself as no adventurer. Lanza leaned from the carriage, observing chaos and questioning the purpose of the gathered forces. Luri Fei confidently declared herself as Scooper Dono, while Myriad emphasized her value as a decisive asset. Myriad revealed he hired every adventurer for 1 million lark, forming a personal fighting force. Lanza confronted Myriad directly, accusing him of knowingly acquiring a slave belonging to Lesheimer. In Berg, manpower for ore mining is scarce, and Lesheimer's suspicious company always needs labor. Lanza confronts Myriad, realizing he's truly rescuing children under the guise of slave trading. Though complicit in child labor, Myriad processes paperwork to give abducted kids a safer status. Unapologetically, Myriad admits he is a slave dealer using any means necessary to achieve his vision, reflecting on their paths. Lanza urges Myriad to return to adventuring if they survive this crisis. Myriad plans to hire all top adventurers using outrageous sums, shocking Lanza with his ambition. He declares that defeating the Crimson Evils would make him the most powerful man alive. Their carriage races through Berg as adventurers surge forward, driven by gold and uncertain purpose. The tower looms ahead, inside. Tension builds as Myriad's group prepares for confrontation. A mysterious warrior narrows his gaze, silently recognizing the moment has finally arrived. A mysterious woman emerged atop the tower, commanding attention as winds tore through Berg's skyline. A terrifying presence pierced the air, her glare alone enough to freeze hearts in panic. Inside the carriage, Bellamy shouted for everyone to take cover, realizing imminent danger was incoming. A devastating blast obliterated the carriage front, shattering the street in a violent explosion. Only Luri, Fei Bellamy's, and Lanza witnessed the exact moment chaos struck and what followed next. From atop a tower, the woman hurls a deadly object toward the distant carriage. A stone crashes through the roof, severely injuring Bellamy's brother, while others panic inside. The mysterious woman descends gracefully. Inside the carriage, the group realizes their powerful enemy has arrived. The carriage enters a tense city, soldiers bracing as an unknown force approaches from above. A mysterious girl watches silently from a balcony, her presence marking a sudden power shift. She violently tears a stone column loose, shaking the building's foundation without any hesitation. Without pause, she leaps forward, responding to imminent danger with precise and instinctive defensive movement. A mage erects a towering mud wall, shielding civilians. Just before the impact lands, the pillar crashes through the wall of rock, shattering stone and shaking the entire street. The carriage narrowly escapes the collapse, swerving away from debris as dust fills the air. Guards scramble through crowded alleys, urging their master toward safety beneath the chaotic urban cover. Plans shift urgently. One soldier prepares to stall the enemy, while reinforcements are gathered. He accepts the burden with a nod, entrusting victory to his allies' unseen potential. A young girl with curled hair steps forward, now assigned a critical mission ahead. Another ally, Bayu, is ordered to remain behind, while the main group moves forward. 2 children are taken into protective custody as soldiers begin splitting up their roles. Despite emotional tension, Bayu nods silently and prepares a token for urgent strategic transfer. A large sum is exchanged in secret. The order is clear: hire the Evil Eye. News spreads rapidly. 2 adventurers, the Evil Eye Emperor and Scooper, overtook the magical ore cavern. Despite objections, orders are given. The strategist walks off, trusting allies to carry the coming burden. Above the streets, the girl with the cape leaps swiftly across rooftops in determined pursuit. She pauses mid-stride as allies below regroup. Each prepares for the approaching confrontation. 3 defenders now stand ready. Their expressions hardened, their roles in this battle clearly defined. A magical tracking device reveals their location, exposing the enemy's clever use of blood. Bound magic, her immense mana is confirmed. The enemy suspects she's more magic-focused than warrior-trained. He attempts to stall with conversation, pretending curiosity while assessing her response and intentions. But she already knows Myriad's location and movements, rendering the interrogation pointless and delayed. The strategist reflects on differences. He uses tools and deception, while others rely on instinct. He grabs Bayu suddenly, intending to use him as part of a risky distraction. With surprising force, Bayu is thrown into the air as lightning magic begins to charge. The spell requires precision. Lightning speed demands a predefined path, using embedded mana anchors. He pre-planted mana beacons to flank her blind spot and aligned movement to distract her. The lightning arcs toward its mark unseen, precise, and unstoppable. The trap is perfectly set. The lightning spell vanishes mid-air disrupted before impact, leaving both attacker and target stunned. An enormous invisible force negates the magic entirely, swirling with terrifying pressure and precision. Bayu hurtles helplessly downward, straight toward her unknowingly in range of a deadly magic strike. Her cursed palm stretches outward, ready to kill. The outcome seems inevitable and grim. Scooper intercepts with perfect timing, shielding Bayu as a massive explosion of smoke erupts. Bayu wakes in Scooper's arms, dazed, as smoke clears from the explosive deflection. Scooper rises confidently, shovel drawn, confronting their enemies with fierce determination and righteous anger. She declares her intent, targeting those who hurt her friend and disrupted their mission. Acknowledging his limits, the strategist surrenders the fight. His injuries and tactics have reached their end. He exits the city, claiming looming threats ahead, retreating under the excuse of greater dangers. The young man tightens his sleeves, choosing to sprint alone rather than ride with others. Lori Fei confronts both opponents, accusing them of wrongdoing, while Tsugudo watches tensely behind her. The female warrior charges in with lethal intent. Her enemy prepares a magical counterattack in desperation. He activates a powerful spell, his body flickering, evading the incoming strike with practiced precision. Using lightning invisibility, he escapes instant death, barely dodging, shocking the woman who misjudged his movements. Lori Fei intercepts, with surprising agility. The woman's ambush fails, revealing her unnaturally heightened battlefield awareness. The female attacker lunges with fierce speed, aiming to land a decisive strike on him. Her punch collides with brutal force, launching him violently through the air into nearby buildings. Dazed and injured, he realizes physical attacks affect her if he can land them directly. But before he regains control, Lori Fei retaliates, swinging her shovel with explosive strength and precision. As he tries to speak, Lori Fei accuses him again, unwavering in her sense of justice. The man struggles to restrain Lori Fei, who furiously demands justice for her injured friend Bayu. Forced to apologize, he sincerely begs forgiveness from Bayu, surprised by how serious Lori Fei was. Lori Fei relents after hearing his promise, but warns him never to repeat such behavior again. She quietly reflects on Tsugudo's absence, believing his presence would have made her even stronger now. Meanwhile, the female warrior recovers completely, unfazed, confirming his attacks did no lasting damage at all. Though unsure about the evil eye's true strength, he sees Lori Fei's potential as overwhelming. He asks about her Scooper title, believing it grants her the power she once unleashed. She realizes her dungeon escape feat was from that title, completely unaware until this very moment. Observing her strength, he concludes her power is relentless and may turn the tide decisively. He proposes a final strategy. He attacks first, and Lori Fei lands the finishing blow. Lori Fei accepts her role with confidence, raising her shovel high, ready to finish the fight. Watching them charge, Bayu senses their strength, despite lacking personal experience in battle until now. The man activates multiple buffs: agility, strength, endurance, committing to a full-force offensive strike this time around. He throws a bottle mid-charge. It shatters on the woman, splashing an unknown, sticky substance. He knows poison won't affect her, but mysterious tactics still create hesitation and psychological pressure. He focuses on limiting her options, hoping to create an exploitable gap in her defense. His punch was merely bait. His real plan begins with her expected defensive maneuver. Her dodge falls into his prediction, each move unfolding just as he had mentally rehearsed beforehand. He unleashes a flurry of quick movements, overwhelming her vision with constant shifting positions and strikes. Charging up his leg, he launches a decisive attack, an electrified kick, enhanced by magical force. The electrified kick is a paralyzing martial art, enhanced by lightning and rhythm. Breaking speed. Yet, she dodges it easily, twisting her body midair while he watches in disbelief. Lori Fei moves in, ready to strike, shovel raised high with precise timing and fierce intent. Safina senses her coming, thinking she can escape, until she realizes her posture prevents instant reaction. Realizing her foe's abnormal nature, he casts Quagmire to trap her before she counterattacks. With the enemy immobilized, he signals Lori Fei. She leaps in to finish with full force. Another man arrives, panting heavily, unaware of the fierce battle that had just concluded nearby. He discovers blood and flesh on the ground, evidence of a violent conflict moments before. The blood isn't Lori Fei's. A tag labeled Katsa confirms it belongs to someone else. A local confirms seeing a Pecoran girl earlier, shopping alongside a group from Myriad. As he declares checkmate, Lori Fei charges forward, aiming her final strike straight at Safina. Another man watches, tense and confused, uncertain if the aftermath he saw was even real. Lori Fei prepares to strike, but Safina's foot sinks deeper, drawing concern from those watching nearby. The shovel comes down with full force until Safina unexpectedly catches it with her bare hand. Shocked by her reflexes, the man watches in disbelief, stunned that she stopped the blow. Lori Fei is stunned. The powerful, unstoppable force didn't even scratch Safina's bare hand at all. Without hesitation, Safina counters, striking Lori Fei's weapon and launching a brutal, sudden counterattack. Safina seizes Lori Fei mid-air by the face, crushing her momentum in a single ruthless motion. Her grip locks tight, holding Lori Fei as she prepares to slam her with unrelenting force. Safina flips Lori Fei overhead, preparing a devastating throw with deadly speed and perfect control. Safina slams Lori Fei into the ground with brutal force, shattering stone beneath their impact. Dust clears as Safina releases her grip, calmly stepping away while Lori Fei lies motionless below. Blood seeps beneath Lori Fei's body. Her ally watches helplessly as Safina walks toward him. Realizing defeat is inevitable, he contemplates fleeing, shocked by how impossible this battle has become. Before he escapes, Safina attacks again, striking him directly with overwhelming power and speed. He unleashed lightning invisibility, channeling unstable magic into his body, preparing for a high-speed ambush. Both combatants vanished in streaks of lightning, clashing repeatedly with invisible strikes across the battlefield. Despite dodging the fatal blow, he was slashed in the side, bleeding from a deep wound. He staggered back, coughing blood as his opponent stood firm, staring coldly with unwavering intent. Clutching his wound, he whispered a final task to his comrade, then collapsed without resistance. The girl approached the fallen body, blood trailing behind, as silence spread across the battlefield. A young beastkin boy stood frozen, shocked by the brutal outcome he had just witnessed. She glanced back briefly, then turned away without regret, her cape fluttering in the wind. He recalled terrifying rumors anyone defying her died. Anyone noticed by her didn't live long either. Hearing crying children behind him, he gripped his weapon. Knowing he had no choice but fight, he sprinted into the ruins, eyes locked on rubble, shattered stone, and a severed arm. With each destroyed trace he passed, unease built in his chest, urging him to hurry. Despair overwhelmed him as he spotted her body, crumpled in blood, repeating a past tragedy. Dark emotions surged: regret, rage, helplessness, as he screamed her name and rushed toward her motionless form. In a separate comedic interlude, Lori Fei sulked, depressed by how tragically the main story unfolded. Seeing Lori Fei depressed, Suguto volunteers to cook in her place and cheer everyone up. Using Mornab tomatoes, he prepares a simple pasta dish, though the cooking scene gets skipped. He announces dinner loudly, startling Lori Fei mid-scoop, signaling it's time to forget sorrow and eat. Suguto summons Granny via magic, just for dinner because magic was too flashy to ignore. Granny eats pasta, now magically bound by contract. Lori Fei warns Suguto not to escalate things further. Suguto worried about his cooking, but Granny declared it edible though bland, with unpeeled skins. Surprisingly, Lori Fei and Granny praised the dish, awarding Suguto a flower circle for great effort. As they ate, Lori Fei asked to review status tags and name windows with Granny. Granny explained name windows could open remotely, but only 3 details could be seen maximum. To see deeper status, one must borrow or steal a tag, then equip it magically. Suguto handed her a scoop-shaped spoon, too worried about her to absorb Granny's lecture. Granny realized her title had changed. She was now officially to Suguto's familiar, not a merchant. Lori faxed about Suguto's meal, but he only cared about her eating happily. encouraged. She used the spoon properly, rolling noodles as instructed, finally enjoying the simple moment. She softly smiled, hoping Suguto felt her gratitude, just as he watched her in silence. Granny departed contentedly after the meal, while Luri Fei eagerly prepared to feed Suguto herself. Suguto turned the corner and froze. Luri Fei lay unconscious, blood gushing from her cracked skull. Panic surged through him as he sprinted toward her collapsed body, ignoring everything around him. Dropping beside her, he checked for signs of life. Her chest still faintly rose and fell. Realizing she needed help fast, he remembered the nearby potion shop down Berg's main district street. Glancing at the fallen man nearby, he recognized him, someone linked to the Myriad Company's secrets. The man's name was Lanza, a Myriad Company merchant still alive and possibly dangerous. Fearing Luri Fei's safety, Suguto gripped his dagger, ready to eliminate any future threats immediately. He approached Lanza with dark intent, prepared to kill before hesitation could change his mind. Suddenly, a wolf-eared youth arrived, breathing heavily, holding potions, locking eyes with Suguto in shock. The youth lunged toward Luri Fei, shouting defiantly, as Suguto instinctively grabbed their arm in confusion. The wolf-eared youth poured multiple potions over Luri Fei, soaking her head with healing liquid. Suguto counted anxiously, eyes fixed on her still form until her eyelids began to twitch slightly. Luri Fei stirred weakly, groaning as she lifted herself up, prompting Suguto to shout in relief. Realizing she was safe, Suguto held her face gently while she finally recognized his presence. As Luri Fei leaned into him, Suguto explained the truth. It was the other boy's effort. Tears welled up in Bayu's eyes as Luri Fei gratefully acknowledged his effort and courage. Overcome with guilt, Bayu dropped to his knees, insisting he wasn't worthy of her gratitude. Suguto asked what happened. Bayu recalled the chaos after they were overwhelmed by a powerful woman, Safina. Images flooded his memory. Safina struck down both enemies, leaving Luri Fei bleeding and Lanza motionless. As Safina walked past, she ignored Bayu entirely. He realized she never considered him a threat. Bayu stared at Safina's back, questioning whether she'd spare Kyle and Vita like before. Haunted by memories, he gripped his weapon, convinced their screams still echoed in his head. The fear in his eyes faded, replaced by resolve as he gritted his teeth tightly. With sudden speed, Safina turned, her predatory gaze piercing through him like a deadly storm. The moment passed. Bayu collapsed backward in shock. Trembling after nearly confronting death face to face, Safina slammed her heel, splitting the ground, warning Bayu she'd slice his legs if crossed. Bayu admitted he fled from danger, but fetched potions, ashamed he hadn't helped Kyle directly. Luri Fei reminded him of his courage, while Suguto realized these names matched Myriad's slave registry. With firm conviction, Luri Fei stepped forward, declaring there was no line they would face it together. Suguto smiled softly as her words lit hope. Let's all go and help them. Suguto panicked as Luri Fei poured potion on Lanza, despite him being a known enemy. Luri Fei calmly claimed, Lanza promised to behave, so now, technically, he was kind of an ally. Suguto was stunned to learn Lanza paid her 1 million lark to buy her cooperation. Luri Fei justified it further. Lanza gave her candy, so he's probably a good guy. Meanwhile, Safina loomed in silence, a deadly red name, one of the 3 crimson evils. Bayu hesitated, burdened by guilt, wondering if he deserved to face Kyle and Vita again. Suguto confronted him calmly, insisting action matters more than timing. Regret can come after it is too late. Encouraged, Bayu stepped forward with resolve, crossing the line he'd once feared to approach. Suddenly, Lanza formally requested Suguto, an F rank, to eliminate Safina, calling him the Evil Eye Emperor. Outraged by the absurd request, Suguto snapped, barely hiding his disbelief at the dangerous demand. Luri Fei revealed she was a debt slave to Lesheimer, questioned for her own survival. Lanza suspected Safina's attack stemmed from Myriad's slave trade rooted deeply in Lesheimer's influence. Knowing that, he revealed Myriad's real goal, assassinate Safina, to protect their criminal operations. Suguto turned to Luri Fei, urgently demanding to know the full amount of her debt. She answered 4.3 million due to slave laws forbidding monster hunting or alternative employment opportunities. Luri Fei quietly declared her dream to become an adventurer and decide her own future freely. Suguto accepted the mission to eliminate Safina, demanding enough pay to buy Luri Fei's freedom completely. The bounty for Safina was set, 10 million lark, he approached the dungeon's entrance determined. As adventurers mobilized, it was clear over 150 were already converging on the cavern. Watching their movements, Lanza smirked confidently and declared his next move: hire them all. Sitting confidently on his throne, Lesheimer vowed to purchase every adventurer's loyalty with gold. Hundreds gathered near the magical ore cavern. Orders were clear: C rank support. B ranks attack. Among them was Key, a B rank, exhausted despite dragons being easier than this. Their target, Safina, regenerated wounds mid-battle, and a rank menace called the beloved dragon child. After the battle, injured survivors grieved. Lanza's death and a lost arm left scars. He sat quietly, watching others retreat. His dream of proving strength to Lanza remained unfulfilled. Beaten nightly in the slums, he grew up watching Myriad endure worse, without complaint. Despite repeated beatings, Myriad's eyes never dimmed. They burned fiercely in that filthy, broken world. Though his body suffered, Myriad always smiled defiantly. His glowing eyes never surrendered to despair. Now, rushing through town, they spotted Safina, atop a roof, commanding swirling magical winds. Facing the crowd alone, Safina's magic storm surged. Inside, Myriad prepared to confront her. Safina launched from the rooftop, aiming to strike before her enemies could react or regroup. At the knight's command, soldiers surged forward, each one hiding something unexpected in their arms. Kay stared in disbelief as innocent children were hurled straight toward Safina midair. The attackers used terrified kids as living shields, forcing Safina to halt her attack. Wounded but swift, Safina grabbed both children mid-fall, shielding them from death with her arms. Safina stared at the children, gently shielding them, while the adventurers observed in stunned silence. Despite being a red name, Safina's strange actions aligned with an adventurer's code of honor. Her mission: destroy Myriad's slave ring and rescue children trapped in underground trafficking operations. Bayou, a debt slave, revealed the children were Myriad's property, living leverage, not innocent victims. Knights charged with blades drawn the next clash would decide whose justice would truly prevail. Safina dodged incoming blades mid-charge, defending herself while still holding both terrified children tightly. The enemy's weapons were coated in wyvern venom and paralyzing flower pollen, deadly, even in fragments. Struck and poisoned, Safina faltered mid-air. The knights charged, believing victory was finally within reach. Myriad laughed maniacally, claiming his dominance. He believed this moment proved his ultimate strength, but Safina countered with a violent shockwave, scattering attackers while still guarding the children. In mere seconds, Safina neutralized the poison and struck down her enemies with precision. With a scream of resolve, she shattered the throne, shocking Myriad and halting everything. Amid silence and ruin, she held the children close, shielding them with bloodied arms. The crowd stared in awe. Myriad wounded, soldiers defeated, Safina still standing, with unwavering strength, bleeding and broken. Myriad smiled as Safina embraced him. His final moment met her warmth. As Myriad collapsed, a hidden assailant struck. Safina was caught off guard and wounded badly. At that moment, blood sprayed. The children screamed as Safina staggered, trying to remain upright. Myriad's death erased his ownership over the children, transferring it temporarily to the trade guild. Bloodied and delirious, Safina stared at the kids and mumbled something unsettling about eating them. Bayou heard their cries and sprinted in his frozen legs, finally driven by real purpose. Myriad dismissed the child's value, unaware a critical fight was about to erupt nearby. A Beastkin youth suddenly dashed in. Safina turned too late as his blade neared. Their swords clashed violently, his strike filled with purpose, surprising Safina with raw strength and speed. Safina's sight detector activated mid-battle, but failed to detect typical hostility from her opponent. She sensed no malice, only deep urgency, as if the boy fought for someone dear. Bayou's eyes trembled with terror, yet he charged forward, confusing Safina in that moment. The brief hesitation in Safina's defense created an opening for surrounding adventurers to react immediately. High-ranking adventurers launched a coordinated strike, overwhelming Safina while shielding the nearby children from danger. A mage's rejection spell forcefully separated the children from Safina's grasp, flinging them away. While one child was warped to safety, the Canaan boy remained exposed before Safina. Safina's instincts screamed she was losing control, and the canine boy was in mortal danger. As her vision blurred, a shadowy presence emerged. Its pressure sent shockwaves through the battlefield. The gaze struck deeper than magic, in a cursed force that pierced spirit, flesh, and willpower. Trying to counterattack, Safina lunged only to be stunned mid-charge by a rock to the face. Lori Fei's unexpected throw shattered Safina's momentum, granting others a fleeting chance to restrain the chaos. Despite the impact, the boy remained standing, his potion untouched, maintaining full strength and focus. Safina observed his relentless gaze, confused by its origin, while he advanced without answering anything. Suguto endured Safina's fierce aerial strike, countering with sheer will and raw physical resilience. Onlookers whispered his identity: the infamous Evil Eye Emperor, once an F-rank adventurer. However, someone else had also conquered the dungeon, casting doubt on Suguto's sole credit. Lori Fei, a beastkin girl with a shovel, stood proud, despite her cruel status as property. Suguto seized Safina's hands mid-attack, gaining a critical advantage before her next deadly move. Suguto activated magic mastery mid-clash, suppressing Safina's strength through raw precision and technique. He sensed her immense mana output surging, unsure if it meant surrender or escalation. Suddenly, enchanted chains launched from afar, binding Safina before she could unleash destructive force. The chains yanked her backward violently, slamming her across the battlefield into reinforced magical restraints. B-rank adventurer, Kiki, arrived with backup, securing the scene and checking Suguto's condition. Suguto checked on the rescued Canadian child, learning his comrades had intervened just in time. Despite her defeat, Safina's evasion impressed everyone. Even Lori Fei hurled rocks in continued resistance. Ki recalled fighting Safina himself, failing to break her bones despite using full strength. He warned that normal strategies were useless. Safina could only be worn down slowly. Suguto suggested an instant kill strategy, while Kidi asked if he'd agree to something that drastic. Suguto proposed draining Safina's mana completely by restraining her and unleashing continuous magic attacks. Before anyone could react, Safina retaliated viciously, her strikes leaving deep wounds and blood sprayed. Safina hovered mid-air with a corpse in hand, speaking horrifyingly about children's flesh tasting better. Despite the fear, Suguto urged Ki to take a risk and help execute the plan. Ki commanded everyone to target Safina with magic and rotate out after draining their mana. Adventurers rallied behind Ki's command, trusting the authority of a respected B-rank party leader. They cast target designation in unison, linking their mana to suppress and contain Safina. Kei explained the spell's function, channeling mana between allies for coordinated magical attacks on enemies. Suguto's evil eye saw colored threads flowing from each caster, binding Safina before dissipating. Ki remembered questioning Myriad about hiring weak ranks, only to learn ranks weren't the issue. Despite payment and contract void, adventurers stayed, moved by pride rather than money or duty. Ki charged ahead with the remaining B-rankers, shouting for cover to buy them time. Suguto acknowledged he needed everyone's help. Draining Safina's mana alone was never realistic. Lori Fei defied Suguto's orders to stay hidden, reappearing unexpectedly at his side again. When scolded, she confessed she acted out of worry, believing Suguto was in danger. Lori Fei's scooping power activates only on non-living things, raising questions about mana and life. Suguto confirmed that objects without spiritual mana qualify as non-living through magical experimentation with trees. If Safina's MP drops to 0, Lori Fei's scoop can finally affect her. Suguto urgently prepared Lori Fei for action, giving her critical instructions for the moment Safina weakens. Elsewhere, a lone figure approached silently, unnoticed amidst tension and shadows thick with blood. As children, they debated power. One valued strength, the other wealth and influence through allies. What started as playful arguing slowly became their shared dream, becoming the strongest, no matter how. Years later, weary and low-ranked, he wondered when their dream began slipping through his fingers. Seeing Myriad still chasing their childhood vow rekindled painful clarity and pride in his heart. Though he abandoned his own dream, he found purpose supporting Myriad's, risking everything in return. He realized he wanted Myriad to become the strongest, even more than himself. Though battered and defeated, Myriad's eyes still burned unshaken, shining with undying belief and hope. Renewed, he stood back up beside Myriad, whispering that their journey wasn't over yet. Safina's vast mana vortex vanished gradually, yet danger remained. Her spiritual core still brimmed with power. Tetsuguto recalled gaining Truthful Evil Eye Level 2, his only hope to measure Safina's MP. Tetsuguto unlocked 6 status details of Safina. One more level might reveal her MP to gain experience. He began scanning every adventurer's data using his Truthful Evil Eye. He forced himself to read countless status tags, exhausting MP through non-stop magical output. Even as his vision blurred and comprehension faded, he refused to stop collecting information. Surrounded by overwhelming data, Suguto declared his resolve to witness everything, no matter the cost. Suguto's Truthful Evil Eye finally leveled up, unlocking more hidden data about Safina. Wasting no time, he grabbed a cloak and sprinted toward Lurifei with urgency. Now able to see Safina's MP, Suguto ignored everything but her dangerously low mana. Adventurers continued casting target designation, their spells draining her power by the second. With her MP at 16, Suguto whispered the number each point closer to their victory. Safina's mana dropped rapidly. If it recovered naturally, all effort would be wasted instantly. Allies on the front line bought time with desperate attacks to delay Safina's retaliation. Medics tended to the wounded while keeping the magic network active and flowing. Despite fear, more adventurers cast support magic and maintained distance, waiting for Suguto's signal. Lurifei waited with shovel in hand, ready to strike when Safina's MP finally hit 0. Lurifei leapt from above, blade raised, striking precisely as the enemy's distraction left him vulnerable. Despite Safina's elite detection, she failed to sense Lurifei silently closing in from behind. Safina collapsed onto the scorched earth, drained of mana, glaring at the man approaching steadily. The man summoned a final spell, desperation evident, but Lurifei's strike had already been launched. Blind yet deadly, Lurifei fought flawlessly, guided only by sound and unwavering trust in commands. Lurifei pierced forward with 0 mana, relying solely on his countdown and her instincts. The cursed eye activated, releasing a deadly burst as Safina's awareness widened in alarmed shock. Her body reacted violently, dark veins spreading as the cursed energy attempted to consume her. Struck directly, Safina reeled from the force, but twisted unnaturally to absorb and counter it. She diverted the fatal blow by letting it land, proving a staggering difference in level. Lurifei's senses exploded with warnings. Every heartbeat screamed danger as Safina's counterattack began instantly. A massive lightning strike erupted mid-battle, an evasive spell turned deadly through close-range execution. A warrior named Lanza struck fiercely with lightning, driving energy directly into Safina's exposed chest. Lightning evasion magic twisted his flesh into electrons, repurposed for an all-out physical shock attack. The cost of this power showed visibly. He burned himself alive to land the blow. Lanza launched another fierce strike, pouring the last of his strength into a desperate final blow. Her chest rose faintly somehow, even after everything. Safina's heart continued to beat faintly. With only 4 horsepower remaining, Safina steadied herself, still able to fight. Still standing, the knife that once missed returned, its timing now perfect, its trajectory finally fulfilled. That missed throw from earlier had never truly missed. Its role was simply delayed until now. The blade grazed Safina's chest, silent, final, drawing a line that even she couldn't endure. After everything, Safina collapsed alone, her downfall triggered by a strike barely worthy of the aftermath. Safina lived under strict rules in a forest hut, starving when her guardian never returned. Starved and alone, Safina fled through the wilderness until she collapsed before a small village. A kind village girl offered food and comfort to the frail, starving Safina without hesitation. Overwhelmed by kindness, Safina instinctively reached out, remembering what it felt like to be safe. Driven by starvation and conditioning, Safina devoured the girl, believing she was the assigned meal. Safina, blood-stained and confused, couldn't understand why people screamed and called her a monster. Everywhere she went, hostile eyes followed, fear and hatred clung to her like shadows. Lying alone, Safina questioned why the world stared with such cruel, punishing, unrelenting eyes. A stranger approached her broken body and softly asked if hunger was all she felt. With kind eyes, the child gently suggested Safina eat vegetables instead of people next time. With her last strength, Safina handed over a pendant, whispering faint gratitude and farewell. Confused but calm, The girl accepted the trinket, watching Safina smile weakly in peace. As the sun rose, Safina's curse vanished, severing the evil eye's hold completely. Her health dropped to 0, but the girl gently confirmed Safina's curse was truly gone. The curse lifted, experience surged, levels rose, abilities advanced, but the loss remained deeply felt. Exhausted, the survivors rested beneath a tree as the village hurried to stabilize the wounded. Safina, now Luri Fei, felt warmth and safety beside friends, if only temporarily preserved. Tension rose as sweets became scarce. Small moments of normalcy masked the weight of survival. Plans stirred. Allies questioned their future, while beastfolk protected 2 sleeping children with quiet resolve. Accusations escalated. Safina's body, marked as cursed treasure, was now hunted even after her death. Merchant Freed declared Safina's corpse guild property. Her remains bound by subjugation contract and ownership. The slaves, once owned by Myriad, were now claimed by the Lesheimer Company, without resistance. Confidently, the Beastkin vowed freedom, planning to use inherited money to purchase their rightful liberty. A warrior praised their bravery, especially the boy who stood unranked against one of the evils. Admiring their spirit, the knight offered help, moved by their courage, unaware of their burdens. The group discussed returning Kyle and Vita home, but neither child remembered where they came from. Suguto explained his role to Freed, affirming he wasn't obligated to report back anymore. The Beastkin swore, with trembling voice, to protect the children she once couldn't defend alone. With heartfelt thanks and a new resolve, she turned away from friends she had relied on. As Suguto and Lurifei walked off together, she smiled quietly, letting go with full heart. He awoke in the ruined slave lodge, now a makeshift camp for the wounded. A man explained the facility's repurposing, once destroyed by Safina, now sheltering the war's injured. Despite surviving, the man's body was ruined, organs damaged by an overwhelming forbidden spell. Upon hearing Safina was dead, he quietly mourned the final act of the great evil. Haunted by questions and loss, he grieved silently. Myriad's voice forever lost, his arm forever broken. Despite available medicine, his wounds were declared beyond healing, even by the most skilled doctors, still recovering. He questioned the visitor's intent, vaguely recognizing the man who'd just arrived. Meanwhile, Suguto and Luri Fei arrived at a town inn named Dragon's Den. Stop, a frightening looking but kind shopkeeper offered a room, keys, and bath tokens without hesitation. Luri Fei, excited by the bath, declared it joyfully, leaving Suguto feeling an odd sense of Freed delayed their departure until morning, urging Suguto and Luri Fei to rest before travel. Elsewhere, suspicions grew. Lesheimer might be the thread tying everything together. According to Lanza's warning, Freed's demeanor seemed off. Suguto planned a direct conversation, suspecting deeper intentions behind his words. Suguto reviewed funds and legalities. He could afford Luri Fei's freedom, but only under strict conditions. Luri Fei returned from her second bath glowing, cheerfully announcing plans for another soak tomorrow. Luri Fei explained slave baths had only cold water, even during winter, without magical heating. Tatsuguto assured her she'd leave the lodge tomorrow and bathe freely whenever she wanted. When she asked to join his adventure, Suguto simply replied with quiet honesty, "Feel free." Luri Fei crawled into bed beside him without hesitation, confusing Suguto with her sudden closeness. Wearing borrowed pajamas, Luri Fei recounted digging through walls with her scoop while Suguto was gone. Luri Fei asked for headpats as a reward. Suguto obliged, gently comforting her. Relaxed by his touch, Luri Fei dozed off on Suguto's chest, ignoring the empty bed. A soft clink revealed her necklace tag and pocket watch she received from Safina, still tightly worn. Suguto noticed the items, realizing she treasured Safina's final gifts by keeping them close. He recalled seeing Safina's terrifying status screen through his evil eye, a rank, cursed, and only 17. Suguto reflected solemnly Safina had always been cursed, even before meeting his evil eye. Elsewhere, Lesheimer received news of Safina's remains and acknowledged it with unsettling calmness. With eerie anticipation, Lesheimer smiled, quietly claiming she looked forward to meeting Safina's remains. At Dragon's Den. Stop, morning arrived with fluffy stairs and a hearty breakfast special. Inside the cafeteria, whispers followed Suguto and Luri Fei's, now infamous for slaying a crimson evil. While eating, Suguto was surprised by Freed's sudden arrival, interrupting the group's breakfast discussion. Fried wasn't alone, Lanza appeared too, and he hinted their destination wasn't the estate. A mysterious woman entered confidently, equipped with blades, silencing the room with her intimidating presence. Tatsuguto recognized her as Thousand Blade Liv, the guildmaster of Berg's Adventurers Guild. Liv approached with a mission, requesting Taguto's help as a B-rank adventurer for a quest.